Mr. Drake intends to replace the anarchy of New England with a government. But at what cost? And can anyone stop him? Anarchy in New England by Joe Jarvis is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. UPI reports executives of the three major tuna brands in the United States conspired to fix prices, according to criminal and civil court records updated this week. According to an amended class action lawsuit, Chicken of the Sea, Bumblebee, and Starkist colluded to keep prices high for one of America's favorite sandwich ingredients. The big three supply about 80% of the $1.7 billion worth of canned tuna sold annually in the U.S., according to court records. A typical can of tuna cost about $1.50, which, according to the DOJ, may be the result of price fixing by Thai, South Korean, and American seafood dealers. The litigation describes regular telephone calls and meetings where executives agreed that all three companies would collectively raise prices. The government began investigating price fixing among the three companies more than 2 years ago. Earlier this month, Bumblebee Foods pled guilty to conspiring to fix the cost of canned and pouched tuna. The company agreed to pay $25 million in criminal fines, which will increase to a maximum criminal fine of $81.5 million if the company gets sold. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. Reuters reports federal appeals court judges on Monday questioned the lawyer defending President Donald Trump's temporary travel ban about whether it discriminates against Muslims and pressed challengers to explain why the court should not defer to Trump's presidential power to set policy. The three-judge panel of the Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals was the second court in a week to review Trump's directive banning people entering the United States from 6 Muslim-majority countries. Opponents, including the state of Hawaii and civil rights groups, say that both Trump's first ban and the later revised second ban discriminate against Muslims. The government argues that the text of the order does not mention any specific religion and is needed to protect the country against attacks. In addressing the DOJ at the hearing in Seattle, Ninth Circuit Judge Richard Paez pointed out that many of Trump's statements about the Muslims came during the midst of a highly contentious election campaign. He asked if that should be taken into account when deciding how much weight they should be given in reviewing the travel ban's constitutionality. Neil Katyal, an attorney for Hawaii, which is opposing the ban, said the evidence goes beyond Trump's campaign statements. The DOJ argues that Trump issued his order solely to protect national security. Outside of the courtroom in Seattle, a group of protesters gathered carrying signs with slogans including "The ban is still racist" and "No ban, no wall." This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
For the past several years now, area woman Caitlin Mooney has been convinced that each and every one of her friends should be a professional comedian. Our reporters spoke to Caitlin this morning about her, quote, hilarious group of friends.
Karen is so funny. Like, I can't even explain it. She's always just saying whatever on her mind. She has this totally sassy attitude. You just can't help but laugh. My roommate Rashmi, she always has these hilarious stories that, they're just too much. I'm always telling her that she should just go up on stage and talk. Everyone would love it.
Mooney went on to say that her good friend Lauren is so funny she could, quote, definitely be on Saturday Night Live or The Office, a sentiment she echoed about a number of her other acquaintances, including her childhood friend Marcia, her college roommate Angela, her coworker Julie, and even her sister Jennifer.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. You dial toll free and take control of the airwaves. You can bring up anything you want. Our number here for you is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And we've got Skype as well. The Skype username is LRN.FM. Tonight with you, it's Ian.
And Mark.
Mark, last night you had a Bitcoin-related story that I wanted to get to. We just didn't have enough time for it. So let's open up the show with that here tonight. For the listeners just, maybe new to the concept, Bitcoin is a decentralized currency.
It's actually explained in this letter.
Okay, great. It's the first of its kind. It's amazing. We love it here on Free Talk Live. But there's a tragic situation behind the scenes involving two very dug-in sides, two opinions, two viewpoints on the way Bitcoin should move technologically into the future. And unfortunately, these two sides are sort of at war with one another. And despite the fact that the Bitcoin price continues to, over the last few months, go up to record highs, there's some real trouble afoot behind the scenes.
Price always trails functionality, you know? So it's trailing. And if Bitcoin's becoming less functional, then the price is liable to go down, which
you would think.
None of us want. So this is an open...
That hasn't happened yet.
An open letter to Bitcoin miners. And miners are the people that run, you know, they used to be just, the Bitcoin was supposed to be the money of the people. Now miners are the separate group of people that manage to get subsidized electricity out in China, usually, and run huge warehouses full of computers to mine Bitcoin.
I didn't know China was subsidizing the electricity. I knew that was a Venezuelan thing.
I thought that was
I just
Chinese.
thought it was cheap in China.
Okay, fine, cheap.
Okay.
That's not,
I don't know.
That's
you
not
could
a
be
subsidy?
Right. You could be right. I don't know. Power costs different things in different places, not necessarily because of subsidies.
The gentleman says, my name is Jonald. Is that name? Is Jonald actually...
Jonald?
No, Fukeball.
Okay.
And he says he's a Bitcoin investor. I bought my first Bitcoins in 2013, and I've been active in the Bitcoin Talk forums since March 2014. And I'm also a small business owner that actually uses Bitcoins for remittance payments, and I hold a degree in computer science. Since Bitcoin investors and miners need each other to succeed, I wanted to take a minute to reach out to you, the Bitcoin miner, and send you a sincere message from a real Bitcoiner. I'll cut right to the chase. I'm concerned. I believe we urgently need to find a scaling solution, and I believe the best solution is to increase the block size.
And the scaling is an issue, meaning that Bitcoin is it's popular. It has become, you know, it is the most popular cryptocurrency. It was the first one. There are a lot of people every moment of the day, all 24 hours of the day, who are hammering this system with requests for payments, to receive and send payments.
Yep.
And it has filled up to the point where it's taking the payments in the order basically in which they pay the most. So whichever ones pay the highest fee are the ones that are given the priority, which makes sense and everything, but unfortunately that has resulted, the fact that it has not scaled as he's proposing, the fact that the system has not scaled to handle this extra demand has resulted in what they call a fee market, meaning that people are bidding against one another basically in order to prioritize their transactions, and that has driven the fees up dramatically.
Right, and that sounds great if you're one of the people who makes money on the fees, and if you're not a person who makes money on the fees, what do you care if you don't use Bitcoin? But if you use Bitcoin, here's one of the problems. If Bitcoin was going to change the world and be the world's reserve currency and replace all of these archaic and frankly evil government money systems. Now, I don't want to have to defend my statement regarding the government money systems being evil, but you can call in and discuss that with us at 855-450-3733 if you want to. But Bitcoin was supposed to change these things. It was designed by the designer, Satoshi Nakamoto, whether that was a person or a team, we don't know. It's just a pseudonym, to do just that. Well, you can't buy a cup of coffee with Bitcoin anymore because the transaction fee is liable to be more than the cup of coffee. Nobody's going to do that. So now you've cut out all the smaller purchases. Sure, the transaction fee is not a big deal if you're buying a car. If you're buying a house,
no big deal, because the transaction fee doesn't scale up usually based on the price that you're sending.
Yep.
So it's going to be usually the same amount to send $1 worth of Bitcoin as it is to send $10,000 worth of Bitcoin. It just depends on a few different factors. The fee varies because of a technological aspect that has to do with how many different sources the money comes from. So it could be a little bit larger with a larger transaction, but not necessarily.
So he says, why should you listen to me? There's a huge amount of misinformation, dishonesty, and political agendas attached to the great scaling debate. This situation is serious, and there's a lot at stake here.
Yeah, there are $30 billion worth of Bitcoin out there right now. There's a lot of money that has been invested, not just in the Bitcoin itself, but also in sort of the Bitcoin ecosystem, the different websites and technologies that have been developed around Bitcoin to make it easier to transact business with it. And by the way, the median fee, meaning half the fees are higher, half the fees are lower, about 2 weeks ago was 75 cents. According to bitcoinfees.co.21, it's a strange, or excuse me, .21.co. Yeah, bitcoinfees.21.co. Right now, you're looking at a median fee of approximately $1.60.
$1.60.
So it's doubled in the last 2 weeks.
It could be more than the cup of coffee you ordered.
Yeah.
Could be, depending on where you get coffee. Now it's like $2.50 for coffee. Jeez, it's crazy. Anyway, he says he's not beholden to any special interests. No one's paying me to write this. I'm not a contributor to any Bitcoin projects, but I'm quite familiar with the scaling topic because I've been following it now for some time. I'm knowledgeable. This has been going on for 2 years. Maybe even longer. I'm knowledgeable enough to clearly understand the technical details, and I've heard all the arguments from every side of the debate. I want to give you my honest, unbiased, unfiltered understanding of the situation. So let's start at the beginning. In 2008, Satoshi Nakamoto published a paper titled Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. Everybody knows this, but the exact title needs to be repeated because today, even the most basic facets of Bitcoin are being challenged. Should Bitcoin really be cash or instead digital gold? And if we follow,
it could be both, and that's the problem.
It's not going to be digital gold. It's a pipe dream.
But it could be both, is what I'm saying. There are people who want it to be digital gold and are trying to destroy its ability to be digital cash.
Yes.
But if you allow it to be digital cash,
it will be
both.
digital gold. Right. It won't be digital gold by itself, which is what what enough of the developers sort of from the Blockstream side seem to think. At least that's the portrayal that I get when I look at the screen caps on the internet. So maybe they've retracted some of the things they've said or refined them or whatever it is, but that's not what I'm seeing. And none of those people call in, right? They don't make a case. The only case I ever get to see is Roger Vere's ruining the Bitcoins, right? Like that's the other side seems to be only that, which I find absolutely ridiculous. There's no way one person could ruin Bitcoin. So anyway, going on.
Well, I mean, I've been able to ruin the Liberty Movement, so maybe Roger has ruined Bitcoin.
I've helped. So if we follow Satoshi's plan, is it really peer-to-peer? Well, I can tell you it's not peer-to-peer right now. These questions come not so much from an open-minded inquiry, but rather from a biased agenda. This would have been inconceivable a few years ago. But now things have become so political that certain people even want to rewrite the Bitcoin white paper. Attempting to rewrite history has always been a favorite tactic of tyrannical elitists. Satoshi's vision, regardless of which side of the scaling debate you're on, it should not be contested that Satoshi always planned for and advocated for simple, on-chain scaling solutions. When asked how Bitcoin would scale to Visa-like levels, he said, "Long before the network gets anywhere near as large as that, it would be safe for users to use simplified payment verification, Section 8, to check for double spending, which only requires having the chain of block headers about 12 kilobytes per day. Only people trying to create new coins would need to run network nodes. At first, most users would run network nodes, but as the network grows beyond a certain point, it would be left more and more to specialists with server farms of specialized hardware. A server farm would only need to have one node on the network, and the rest of the LAN connects with that one node."
Okay, it's getting a little technical.
Okay, you want to explain it?
I don't even want to try.
Okay.
That has to do with the nodes on the network, and
a quote.
He's saying that if as the network gets larger, that the average user would not be able to run a node.
Satoshi's acknowledging that miners would exist, and that miners wouldn't necessarily be just your average person with a laptop mining. That it would become specialized. I'll go on with the quote here in a moment.
All right, more coming up here. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. What is going to happen with the Bitcoin network? The future is in dispute at the moment. You're welcome to weigh in here on Free Talk Live.
Bitcoin.com is of the opinion that the current Bitcoin core development team is not taking satisfactory steps to ensure the growth and advancement of Bitcoin in accordance with Satoshi's vision. As community efforts to resolve these problems have failed, it is necessary to resolve them with a different approach. By using subreddit r/BTC instead of r/Bitcoin and running Bitcoin Unlimited, you are casting a vote against the current development team. Learn more at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Free Talk Live has partnered with Amazon, the largest internet retailer. Imagine a department store category, and Amazon has it. Books, electronics, office products, furniture, jewelry, automotive, toys, clothing, sporting goods, and dozens of other categories. Now you can shop and support Free Talk Live by entering Amazon through our website. Go to shop.freetalklive.com and Amazon will send us a portion of your purchase. You're going to do the shopping anyway, so remember to enter through our site at shop.freetalklive.com. That's shop.freetalklive.com.
Hi there, I'm Bob Eubanks. You know, as part of Hollywood for a long time, I've seen my fair share of celebrities get in trouble with the IRS. Well, there's one name I trust, the Tax Defense Group. They're the most trusted name in tax. So if you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS, you really need to call my friends at the Tax Defense Group. Ignoring the IRS is not the solution. They can garnish your paycheck, levy your bank accounts, seize your home or business. But the Tax Defense Group could put a stop to all of that and tailor a program that would reduce your tax debt to pennies on the dollar. You gotta love that. So don't just take my word for it. Call them. Find out for yourself. They offer a 100% satisfaction guarantee. And they're open 24 hours a day because they know that tax debt doesn't sleep either.
Call now for your free and confidential tax analysis from the most trusted name in tax. Call 800-361-6907. 800-361-6907.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that tenth of a calorie it takes to click on something. facebook.freetalklive.com. Radio is the most personal of mediums. I exist right now in your head. If you listen to Free Talk Live regularly, you know me. Free Talk Live is on more than 160 radio stations around the U.S. and has been downloaded on every continent around the world. Hundreds of thousands of listeners with ad packages from $600 a month to $6,000 a month. Imagine what we can do for your business, project, website, or idea. Email me, Mark at freetalklive.com.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live, and you can dial in toll-free, bring up whatever you want. Our number here, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733, and the Skype username here is LRN.FM. With you in studio, Ian here.
And Mark.
All right, Mark, tell me about healthcare.
Well, healthcare is all messed up here in the United States, and we need a healthcare system that focuses on health and doesn't focus on sickness, because, well, if they treat you for sickness but give you nothing for being healthy, it incentivizes the illness. Well, there is a free market healthcare company that can give you freedom from health insurance. HealthExcellenceSelect.com gives you proactive health assessments daily if you need them. No charge 24-hour access to doctors. Where are you going to get that? A medical information card that you could give to EMS or other doctors or whomever that has all your information on it. That's pretty valuable. And they cover any kind of doctor, traditional, integrative, chiropractic, acupuncture, massage. You'll love the service and the price. HealthExcellenceSelect.com. Again, it's HealthExcellenceSelect.com.
All right, let's continue here, Mark. You are sharing with us an article written by somebody who wants to, I guess, communicate with the Bitcoin miners of the world, the people who are running the Bitcoin network, the people who are critical to the existence and the security of Bitcoin. That's what the miners do. They help make sure that the transactions are spent only once and that you can't fake out the system. And there's a very important role that these miners play. Besides getting new Bitcoin for themselves, bringing that into existence, they're doing that by helping secure the network. And unfortunately, most of the miners at this point are not on one side or the other of this conflict that's been going on behind the scenes. And it just seems like things are sitting still as Bitcoin tumbles in just the last 3 months has tumbled in its market dominance. It used to have like 90% market dominance, or 85 to 90% about 3 months ago. It's now down below 50%. And that means that Bitcoin used to be, of all of the cryptocurrencies, the dominant player in the marketplace. It's still number one as far as it's still bigger than the others, but it's not bigger than the others combined. The others combined are now bigger than Bitcoin. And to me, some people have tried to poo-poo that, like, oh, well, that's not a big deal. It just means the whole pie is growing.
That's a big deal.
But for people that want to see Bitcoin stay on top, it is a big deal. And it's starting to look like Bitcoin's not going to stay on top for much longer. You've got Ripple that is nipping at its toes. I think Ripple was at like 50% of Bitcoin's market cap.
I don't even know what Ripple is.
I don't either. I can't explain it to you, but it's been around for a long time.
It's been around for a while, yeah, and it's very centralized, as I understand it.
It started shooting up recently.
Yeah, people have been looking at it. Litecoin, which was an also-ran for a very long time. People, started paying attention to that and buying that. All these things, it's just this great product, this great world-changing technology, and it still is a world-changing technology. It's just that it might be heading off to the dusty shelf of history here in the near future if things don't get fixed. The miners are either confused, they don't know, they're ignorant of what's going to happen. They don't care what's going to happen because they'll just
mine something else.
Yeah, milk this baby until it's dry and then switch it over to some other coin. At which point, I don't know if there's any returning for Bitcoin. Then again, don't expect me to be able to predict the future.
Yeah, we don't know anything. We're just talk show hosts. But nobody knows how to predict the future of Bitcoin. But I can tell you, I feel like if this stalemate continues, that its future is not bright.
Right, and I think
the question is when.
It bears mentioning. Free Talk Live is sponsored by Bitcoin.com, which is a great news source for Bitcoin. But they are big proponents of what's the new name for the product? It's Emergent Consensus.
Yeah,
which is one of the sort of sides in this battle, I guess.
They used to call it Bitcoin Unlimited, so I'm not sure why the new name. Maybe because they don't want it to be behind a specific brand of software. Bitcoin Unlimited is kind of a competitor to the Bitcoin Core, the original Bitcoin.
Yeah, and but they're probably more like what Satoshi Nakamoto wanted than what Core.
That's what they
become.
would say. Yeah.
So anyway, this author here goes on to say, basically, quote Satoshi Nakamoto. In this quote, Satoshi says, he expects miners to exist and doesn't say that they shouldn't. He also says that if the network were to get too big, then it would take several years, and by then sending 2 HD movies over the internet would probably not seem like a big deal. So basically claiming that he's saying
the network will that the computer technology is going to go up at the same time as the network's capacity is going to go up, and so everybody who might be worried that the computers won't be able to handle Bitcoin, they're just not looking at the way technology develops.
Right. With that, there's no particular reason to keep Bitcoin the same size as far as scaling goes. This is what Satoshi's saying. I'm only trying to transmit that to people as it needed to be in 2009 when this technology was created. It might have been modified in 2010 or something. We're still talking 7 years ago. So disturbingly, this is very telling. Disturbingly, this simple quote from Satoshi was that's deleted from the Bitcoin Reddit page. The Bitcoin Reddit page deleted Satoshi's vision here.
That's pretty scary.
I'll revisit the censorship issue in a moment. Another important fact is that the current block size limit of 1 megabyte was intended to be a temporary measure. This was something everyone knew before the debate became politicized. One of the earliest code reviewers, Ray Dillinger, explained that he, Hal, Finney, and Satoshi all agreed the limit was to be temporary. Satoshi also provided the means to raise the limit with his famous quote. It can be phased in like I don't know. He gives
you have to wonder if
stuff.
Satoshi Nakamoto were to resurface now after, I don't know, what,
It'd be nice
6 years? Didn't he disappear at like 2011 or something? He launched Bitcoin, or she, we don't know who Satoshi Nakamoto is. Satoshi launched Bitcoin in 2009, or the white paper was posted in 2008, and then she disappeared a couple years later. They just, stopped posting. They kind of handed over the keys, supposedly, to Gavin Andreessen, who was a Free Talk Live listener and
who was fired
supporter
by the current devs.
Yeah, that's kind of scary.
It's all just weird. I'm sorry. I mean, like, whatever side you're on this one, and I'm trying not to have a side, but, like, one side looks like villains to me.
So, I mean, what would happen if Satoshi Nakamoto came back? Like, if he just, because he can prove, right? Like, anybody can come out there and say, I am the real Satoshi, but the real Satoshi would be able to prove himself by revealing his PGP key or whatever. There's, like, a way that he could prove that only he... that person posting is Satoshi. Like, even though he still wouldn't know who Satoshi is, Satoshi, that entity, could come back online, could post to the old Bitcoin Talk group or whatever, wherever it was that he was originally posting. This was, I think it was like some sort of news group or something like that, and people would know that it was the real Satoshi. If the real Satoshi came out and said, I endorse Bitcoin Core, or I endorse, emergent consensus, you have to wonder if the other side would just be like, okay, well, Satoshi's back, or they would, still be dug in and like, Satoshi, you were wrong.
They're dug in because they can read the quotes.
Yeah.
They don't need Satoshi to come back.
And the question is, if he's dead, there's a possibility Satoshi is dead, so he may never come back.
The author says, sure, Satoshi isn't God. The point isn't to appeal to his authority, but simply to remember that Bitcoin always had a scaling plan in the first place, from the very beginning.
All right, there's more, I guess, from this guy?
Yes.
All right, more coming up here, 855, 450 free. You can take control of the airwaves here. Bring up whatever's on your mind. This is Free Talk Live.
The answer to being in control of your own healthcare is freedom from insurance. Become part of a group of self-pay patients that come together to share in each other's medical expenses. Individual share amounts begin at $107 a month and $347 for families. Choose from 3 health-sharing programs. Holistic treatments may be eligible for sharing. See guidelines. Discount programs available for dental, vision, and pharmacy. Go to libertyoncall.org. That's libertyoncall.org.
Do you know what's lurking in your water? More than 200 contaminants could be sitting there, just waiting for your glass. With a ProPure water filter, start enjoying clean and great-tasting water today. ProPure filters, independently tested, latest water filter technology. ProPure systems do not require electricity and are easy to set up and easy to use. To find out more, visit your authorized ProPure dealer or ProPureUSA.com. That's ProPureUSA.com.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends radio show. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgoristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agorist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers, and some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agorist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any tomfoolery. So go with AgoristHosting.com. And if you want to get your foot in the door with decentralized marketplaces, Agorist Hosting is now offering Open Bazaar hosting. Go to agoristhosting.com, click on the button that says Get Hosted. Agorist Hosting, that's AGORIST, hosting.com.
This Your Family Today tip is brought to you by Nesquik. Try Nesquik 4-packs, perfect for lunches and great for kids on the go. Look for it in the juice aisle. Snack time is a great chance to sneak extra calcium into your child's diet without making him feel like he's eating something he doesn't want. Serve up dairy-rich foods like smoothies, flavored milk, frozen yogurt, and string cheese. He'll love the treat, and you'll love knowing how good it is for him. For more tips like these, visit us at parenthood.com/yourfamilytoday.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
Hi, folks. In a world of GMO, genetically modified organisms, that is, chemicals, processed foods, and a healthcare system that's unraveling like a cheap suit, it's time to prepare. God created herbs, and herbs help man. Our body can heal itself, just sometimes we need assistance. You need some help? GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Our mild detox is quite powerful with its unique blend of 8 different herbs. And if you're looking for more, our non-GMO supplements will help you with different needs you might have. Health should be a top priority. Take care of your health naturally. Log on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Give your body a treat. Let the herbs do their thing naturally. Read all the testimonies on the website, GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Sickness and viruses are like intruders, and herbs are like warriors. Let the tea work for you. That's GetTheTea.com.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. Dial in toll free and bring up anything you want. Our number here, 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. And you may Skype in to join us here at Skype username LRN.FM. If you'd like to try what might be the best pillow you'll ever use, near risk-free for 60 days, you can do that with MyPillow. You go to MyPillow.com and use code FTL, like Free Talk Live, to get 50% off of this amazing pillow that is designed to fit to the shape of your body and hold your neck in the proper position. It's also washable. You can put it in your washer and your dryer, and you can do it all for 50% off by using code FTL over at MyPillow.com. You can get one at half off, 2 for the price of 1. However you want to look at it, get your MyPillow now, and then you get the first 60 days to decide whether you want to keep it. If you, for whatever reason, you don't agree with us that it's an awesome pillow, you can send it back in, and then they'll send you your purchase price back. But if you keep it, and we expect that you will, because everybody so far has raved about theirs, it's guaranteed to last you for 10 years. So go to MyPillow.com, use code FTL. Mark, you're sharing with us a story here. We're going to get back into it, but I want to bring Riley on the line. He is with us in Utah on Skype. Hello, Riley.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
So I wanted to talk a bit about the Free Talk Live Daily Digest that I've been doing for almost a year now. It'll be a year on May 23rd.
Wow. All
it's
right.
The 20 to 30 minute bit of audio that I take from Free Talk Live, and I've been doing it for about a year. I just want to mention that to the listeners in case they love Free Talk Live but don't have the time to actually listen to an entire episode.
Yeah, and
Thanks for doing it, Riley.
An amazing load of work. I imagine it's at least a few hours per day that you're putting into that. And
I did a piece of audio that you put in that podcast recommending that people send you a little money your way, right?
Yep.
Good.
So what's going on?
Well, the other thing I wanted to talk about was I have some wearable tech that I found that is useful for a blind person to use when they're out and about, that will pick up when they are about to run into a tree branch or a sign that might be sticking out in the road. It's a pair of glasses that emits some sort of ultrasonic sound wave that when it returns to the glasses, it will cause the glasses to vibrate in order to alert you to something.
Cool.
I just wanted to bring that up because maybe someone else out there might want a pair if they're losing their vision or something.
What is the name of the product?
It's the ultrasonic glasses mobility aid from a company called Ambutech.
So basically, it gives you the power of the dolphin, right? Because that's what dolphins do.
Bats.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, echolocation. Very cool.
It's a pretty cool
Have
thing.
you had a chance to try it out. I mean, I haven't really thought of tree branches and signs being an issue, but I bet they are. Have you had it?
I haven't really taken them too much out in the wild, so to speak, yet, but I'll be doing that and probably doing a review of them at some point.
Now, is this designed to supplement the old, blind man's stick that we've all seen?
Yeah, well, that doesn't go out in front of your face.
True.
Yeah, it's to supplement the cane or the guide dog, because sometimes guide dogs may miss things, and you don't always pick up something with your cane.
I see. Okay. Cool. I love it.
Which do you like better, the cane or the guide dog, and why?
I actually use a cane. I prefer using a cane because guide dogs you actually have to take care of. You have to feed, and they're kind of expensive to take care of. If I were living on my own, I'd probably want a guide dog just for the companionship or possibly better navigation.
Cool. Hey, thanks for the product update. And by the way, for our listeners that want to try out the digest, if you are subscribing to our podcast, if you subscribe to the full podcast, you're already receiving them. But if you want to just receive the digest, there's a special RSS feed that is just for those episodes, and you can go and access all of our different feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. So you got one for the digest only, you've got one for full episodes only, you've got the full feed, which has everything in it, including Edgington Post, which is your podcast, Mark, and then there's an Edgington Post only one, so you can have your Free Talk Live in whatever way that you want. And Riley, anything else you want to share with our listeners tonight?
I just wanted to talk a little bit about Bitcoin.
Sure.
I have been using it for a little bit, and I'm kind of disappointed. Okay, not kind of, but I'm really disappointed that it's become so politicized. I wish people would just get their stuff together and be able to make Bitcoin work.
Don't we all? Thank you for the call tonight, man. I appreciate hearing from you. The toll-free number, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Mark, you were sharing with us an open letter to the Bitcoin miners of the world who we'd like to see make up their mind and do something to try to save the Bitcoin currency.
It ultimately comes down to the miners.
Yeah.
The devs can develop whatever they want, but the miners are the ones that implement it. And right now, the miners are doing real well on fees with Bitcoin.
Median fee is $1.60 right now.
It's going to cost you $1.60 to get all your money out of Bitcoin and into Dash or whatever you're going into, and people are doing it.
Sure.
I don't know what to say, but they are. So anyway, he points out that miners that Satoshi, he points out what Satoshi would have liked, and he says, look, I'm not appealing to authority, but that's what Satoshi would have wanted. But the core devs had other ideas. The history of the current crop of core Bitcoin core developers has been already summarized and described elsewhere. Explanations have been given for the unproductive scaling conferences, the broken Hong Kong agreements, and so on, but it should be extremely clear to everyone, based on years of their behavior and even their own words, that the core group does not want to scale Bitcoin with a simple block size increase. No, they don't. In fact, they and their supporters
Which they could do right away. I mean, they could make that change, and the miners, I guess, would have to accept it, but...
Well, they wouldn't have to accept it, but they probably would because they're signaling core. So anyway, in fact, they and their supporters have done everything in their power to prevent this, including engaging in massive censorship. And a lot of people say, oh, censorship, what's that got to do with the issue? Well, I don't know, but this is communication is what's going to take to get from one place to another. And if one side is censoring communication, then you got a real problem. You go to the forums at bitcoin.com, you're not going to get censored. You can have any opinion you want. You're not going to get censored. You go to Bitcoin Talk, the Bitcoin Talk forums, you go to the Reddit Bitcoin forum, you're going to get censored.
Right. The competitor to the Reddit Bitcoin forum, the one where the guy that wrote this article said a post from, or that quoted Satoshi Nakamoto was deleted.
Yeah. Satoshi is getting deleted at the our Bitcoin forum.
Right. There's r/BTC, which is the competitor, the more open, censorship-free competitor there. So if you want a Reddit discussion that's not censored, then it's r/BTC.
So their primary arguments are as follows. It's problematic to raise the limit size because it requires a hard fork, which is difficult to coordinate. Bitcoin nodes should be inexpensive to run as possible. Otherwise, the decentralization of Bitcoin will be threatened. And without a constraint in the block size, Bitcoin won't be secure once subsidies, that's the block rewards, decline. None of these arguments have sufficient merit to forestall a block size increase. I'm not saying arguments are entirely without merit. Few things in life are ever 100% black and white. But we have to weigh the merits of these positions against the alternatives and against other factors in the Bitcoin ecosystem. Let's take them one at a time. Hard forks are dangerous is a myth. This is a prominent talking point in 2014 and 15. However, the truth is that the hard forks are not necessarily dangerous. Ian, you care to explain a hard fork?
Yeah, so as I understand it, the hard fork is where...
It split the software into two.
Yeah, I think that's what it usually entails, where you've got their Bitcoin
Twice as
software.
many Bitcoins.
You got your Bitcoin software, and then there's this competitor out there that gathers all this miner support. The miners, if they support the competition, this emergent consensus, which is the major competitor right now to the status quo, then if enough miners come on board with that, they can sort of force the blockchain over there, but the other miners might want to keep the blockchain there, and the blockchain is the technology that backs Bitcoin, this distributed ledger. So they would then have two copies of that. I mean, there's already thousands of copies of this distributed ledger. That's why it's distributed. It's decentralized. But they would then have two sort of programs running two different copies of that distributed ledger. So there would be Bitcoin Core, and then there'd be Bitcoin Unlimited or Emergent Consensus. And ultimately, the changes that would be made from that point forward to each blockchain would not be reflected on the other blockchain. So you would then have two Bitcoins if that were the case.
Yes.
And so he's going to say that's not a problem, and we'll see what he has to say here in moments. This is Free Talk Live.
Warning. If you've recently declared bankruptcy, you're going to want to cover your ears, because there's an alternative to bankruptcy, and it could be better than you'd ever think possible. But if you've already declared bankruptcy and have missed this opportunity, you'll want to cover your ears now. Here it is. Right now, the company that has resolved more credit card debt than anyone in the U.S. may be able to settle your debt too. You could resolve your debt with one low monthly program payment. If you call right now and qualify, Freedom Debt Relief will show you how low your monthly program payment could be for free. Call now, 1-800-660-1581. That's 1-800-660-1581. If you're struggling with debt, this could be your answer. And the bigger your debt, the more money you could save. To find out for free how much of your hard-earned money Freedom Debt Relief could help you save, call now. 1-800-660-1581. 1-800-660-1581. 1-800-660-1581.
Have you checked your Google search results lately? Search results are usually the first impression that people form of you or your business, so make sure that they create a positive impression with ReputationDefender.com. What the internet says about you can have a big impact on your life and your livelihood, even if it's not true. Fortunately, you can now control how you look online and in online search results with ReputationDefender.com. Call 800-831-0771 now. That's 800-831-0771 for your free reputation analysis. If you have negative material from an ex-employee, upset patient, or former client, newspaper article, legal issue, social media, or other source showing up in your search results, you can combat it with ReputationDefender.com. Our dedicated experts in patented technology can help make your online search results look their best. Call 800-831-0771 to learn more. 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. Or visit ReputationDefender.com.
It's The Onion Radio News. An area man doesn't know what to do with all the extra ketchup packets. This is Doyle Redland reporting. After finishing his Big Bacon Classic combo, Erie, Pennsylvania resident and Wendy's patron Don Turnby, 38, expressed uncertainty today regarding what to do with all the extra ketchup packets. Turnby had asked for extra ketchup upon placing his order for a ketchup-necessitating Biggie fries.
Well, I knew it was too many ketchups because I usually only need 3 or 4 for my Biggie fries, but I just took them anyway.
At his nearby home, the Turnby pantry is crammed with hundreds of other restaurant condiments, including single-serving packets of Taco Bell mild sauce, Arby's horsey sauce, soy sauce, McDonald's Chicken McNuggets hot mustard sauce, pats of shed spread country crock from Ponderosa Steakhouse, and a selection of Smucker's jellies and jams from several area diners. Doyle Redland for The Onion Radio News, online at theonion.com.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for lrn.fm in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.fm. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
What do you shop for that you could otherwise buy at Amazon? Pretty much everything, right? Amazon has competitive pricing and they deliver, and that's a big plus. If you could plan ahead in your shopping, would you be interested in saving up to 33%? There's a catch. You have to do your shopping in Bitcoin. But imagine those savings. It's like a huge raise. All you have to do is go to saveatpurse.com. We've saved thousands, and you can too. Plan ahead and save. Saveatpurse.com.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything you want right here, toll free. Our number is 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. We've got Skype as well. The Skype username is LRN.FM. Of course, we got a lot of stuff that we can talk about tonight. We're in the midst of a Bitcoin discussion, looking at what's the future of Bitcoin going to be like. With so much uncertainty out there. One man has written an open letter to the Bitcoin miners, and Mark, you're sharing the content there with us. We're going to get into more of that coming up here in moments. Also, you can share whatever's on your mind. Coming up, is it a death spiral for cars? Some people are saying by the year 2030, you probably won't own one. But let's get back into other technological futures, in this case, Bitcoin. Mark, you were about to address, or this gentleman who wrote this article, which appears where again? Do you mind sharing
Yeah,
that?
sure. It's at medium.com.
Medium, okay. The guy who wrote this article is saying, hey, don't worry about this hard fork. That's just a bunch of fear-mongering, the idea that Bitcoin could split into two, that could cause a lot of confusion. I happen to think it would cause some confusion. But
hard fork sounds scary. It ends with a D and a K. Those are hard sounds. Hard fork. Who wants that? People want a soft fork, even though soft fork really, still sounds bad. Whatever it is.
No one wants to get forked.
Yes, forkings are bad. But however, the previous group of developers, including Gavin Andresen, Jeff Garzik, and Mike Hearn, all supported upgrading Bitcoin with hard forks. Initially, the discussion was whether the new maximum block size would be 2 megabytes, 4 megabytes, or 8 megabytes.
See, the thing is, before you get into that, when I said before the hard fork doesn't necessarily mean there would be two copies of Bitcoin. There's one possibility where if Bitcoin hard forks and there's enough support for the new Bitcoin, the Bitcoin Unlimited or whatever it would be called, then that may just kill the old blockchain. There are different reasons why that could happen, but basically if a bunch of miners defect from old Bitcoin and go into new Bitcoin, then old Bitcoin will be so weak and so unbacked by miner support that it would be easy to just crush it, essentially strangle it in its deathbed ultimately, and then there would only be one blockchain after that. But it all depends.
You never know, and I wouldn't predict that personally.
Me neither. But it could happen.
Anyway, what began as a minor difference of opinions between miners somehow snowballed into a potent meme that consensus scaling was going to be difficult. The miners started adding their own opinions about hard forks, creating additional friction. Yes, it is easy to claim that there is contention when you're among those being contentious. Core has no official leadership position or governance structure, and because of this, it's been easy. Core is the there's Bitcoin Unlimited.
The original group.
Yeah, well, it's not the original group. It's the original software that's been taken over by a new group.
Okay, good point. Yeah.
Anyway, because of this, it's been easy to justify inaction by simply concluding that there's no consensus. And since they control the reference code repository, their refusal to raise the limit affects everyone else. In practice, Core does have leaders. How else could it be explained that SegWit has merged into the code, even if not activated?
SegWit is segregated witness, which is a proposal to helps Bitcoin scale into the future.
It's the other proposal for scaling. Not that it is exclusive to Bitcoin Unlimited or vice versa.
Right.
Even if not activated. With this practically without public debate, really much at all. On one side, prominent Core developers have denied that Core decides what code is published and have denied that there is any leadership. This is an example of the kind of constant misinformation that's being generated on a daily basis. back to the hard fork issues. Many altcoins like Monero have regular hard forks. Coordination between major players in an ecosystem is not a big challenge if everyone is on the same page. So far, I have not heard of a single problem with an altcoin that they had in performing a single upgrade via hard fork. So there's evidence that they can be done safely. Look, it happened to Ethereum, and Ethereum's doing fine.
Well, Ethereum had a hard fork, and now there are two Ethereums. There's Ethereum, and then there's Ethereum Classic.
Fine. Who cares?
And both of them are doing better.
Yes. In addition, if Core admits that their roadmap was eventually the block size will need to be increased, then why not do it now when it's badly needed? There's no logical reason why it would be more risky now than later.
Mm-hmm.
Decentralization myths. There are actually several myths surrounding the issue of decentralization. Let's address the obvious ones. The most ludicrous is all the users should be running full nodes idea. As others have explained, there's no security provided by the network by non-mining full nodes. This is going to be too much, isn't it, Ian?
If it gets too technical, it's going to be too much.
Basically, what he's saying is it's ludicrous to think that everybody needs to be a miner to be a Bitcoin user.
That's correct.
Yeah. So Satoshi's white paper explains why most users do not need to run full nodes. I'm not going to read that quote.
Okay.
The idea that a lot of non-mining full nodes will make the network more decentralized because they can make they can make sure the miners are behaving is erroneous.
So one of the claims from the side of the Bitcoin core, this status quo side, if you will, or the SegWit side, whatever you want to call them.
It's not even status quo, but go ahead.
I mean, right now they're the status quo because they can't get their SegWit thing pushed forward because they need 95% of that. But
the status quo was supposed to be temporary.
Yeah. Well, oh God. So one of the arguments from the supporters of the the Bitcoin core is that, oh well, if you look at the node count, because there's different counts of people out there who are involved in Bitcoin. There's the full node. So here at the LRN.FM studio, we have the studio computer and it's running a full node of the Bitcoin Unlimited software. Some people, thousands of people, are running full nodes of the Bitcoin Core software. And the people who support sort of staying the course, going with the Bitcoin Core direction, well, they will cite that, there's, 90%, or I don't know what the number is right now, but there's a large, a super majority of these core nodes out there. And they cite that as evidence that that's what Bitcoiners want. They say that if the average Bitcoiner wanted to go with Bitcoin Unlimited, they would do what we're doing, and that is run the Bitcoin Unlimited node software. On the other hand, there are more people running the Bitcoin Unlimited or Emergent Consensus than there are the SegWit. It's like 40% to 34% right now. So they try to make it sound like, well, because all the nodes are this way, that means that's what people want. And I don't know if that's true. I don't know if all the nodes are that way because that's a choice that people have made, or if they're just that way because people are running that software because the Bitcoin Core software has been around for a long time and that's what they've always run, and they don't know even that much about the controversy, that they haven't even taken a position on it. Just sort of by default, they're running the original software.
I'm running Bitcoin Unlimited, and you shouldn't take my opinion on which one of these pieces of software is better. Right? One of the reasons I don't like voting, Donald Trump sitting in the White House is the reason I don't like voting. Right? We had the worst choices we possibly could. They picked somebody between those two bad choices. Voting stinks, and most people who vote are ignoramuses. I'm an ignoramus when it comes to Bitcoin software. I don't know which one's better and which one's worse. I can't look at code and tell you what's faulty and what works.
Right.
I don't know. But I can tell you that there's plenty of smart people who are supporting both sides. Now, and it appears as though often there's misinformation that's put out. That says to me, if smart people are putting out misinformation, it says to me it's not because they're making a mistake, it's because they're lying. Okay?
Could be.
And once I feel like I've been lied to, I'm not going to team up with that side. Now, that's how an ignoramus is going to work, and I'm claiming to be one. So, what is lacking here is a bunch of developers, software developers, thinking that they're going to, shove stuff down people's throats, and the market doesn't work that way.
Yeah, so my point being that the miners are the ones who are in this as a business. They're the ones who are – most of the miners are probably not doing it as a hobby. They're probably doing it to try to make some money. They're trying to win the Bitcoin awards, basically. They're trying to get the miners' fees. they want to get some more money in, and that's why they're doing this. So they have more of an interest to pay attention. They have more of an interest to choose a side, even though, again, most of them are not on one side or the other, it seems like, at this point. But they have more of an interest. They're more likely to have been vetting these softwares, considering this very seriously about which direction to go in the future, unlike the average Bitcoin node, which may just be, running software because they always have. So anyway, go ahead with more of the story, Mark.
Yeah, so he says just as important, by the time that capacity increases, let's say from 3 transactions per second to 30 transactions per second, the network will be so large that it likely won't be any less decentralized, even if it costs more to run a node. At 3,000 transactions per second, Bitcoin would be a highly dominant global currency and making use of millions of data centers and servers available worldwide. This was always the plan. The alternative vision of Bitcoin holds decentralization risks that are worse. Many users are not aware of the decentralization risks that come with the small node, small block version of Bitcoin. That's what we currently have. Core's vision for Bitcoin is to transform the peer-to-peer cash system into some kind of settlement network. While this may be the way that to keep node costs minimal, most users would be economically forced off the main chain because they cannot compete with institutions for fees.
855-450-FREE. You may join us here. We are talking about the world of cryptocurrency and the future of Bitcoin. You can also take control of the airwaves and bring up anything. Hour 2 coming up. You've said it yourself. We need a healthcare system that focuses on health, not sickness. Health insurance pays for treating sickness but gives you nothing for being healthy. There's a free market healthcare company that gives you freedom from health insurance. They give you a proactive health assessment daily, no charge 24-hour access to doctors. Check them out right now at healthexcellenceselect.com. Any kind of doctor, traditional, integrative, chiropractic, acupuncture, and massage. You'll love the service and price. healthexcellenceselect.com. healthexcellenceselect.com.
Everyone has something in their lives or just about themselves that they want to change, from trying to lose weight to becoming more motivated at work. Change is difficult, but the good news is no matter what, you don't have to go through it alone. Hypnotherapy can help you remove negative subconscious thoughts that keep you from achieving your goals. Never rely on just willpower again. Contact us at afterhourshypnotherapy.com today for your free consultation, or contact Melvin Marsh at 678-658-8483.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
You may already know about the Free Talk Live audio-on-demand phone line at 641-793-9660. Did you know that not only can you listen to Free Talk Live via your phone, you can also leave a message and have it delivered to Free Talk Live's hosts? To leave us your thoughts, just dial 641-793-9660. That's 641-793-9660. Press 2 for Free Talk Live, and then hit 0 to leave your message.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next, after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Wednesday, May 17th, 2017. Silver is trading at $16.95 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,228 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at 2 cents, and the average price of Bitcoin is $1,823. Antiwar.com reports the death toll of Monday's apparent U.S. airstrike against the Islamic State-held town of Abu Kamal, Syria, continued to rise on Tuesday, with the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights saying that 42 civilians have now died as a result of the attack, which targeted a residential area and adjoining mosque. The Pentagon was mum on the incident on Monday, but on Tuesday issued a blanket denial, insisting that they had carried out no airstrikes against Abu Kamal, nor had any members of their coalition. They did, however, say they attacked oil production facilities just outside of the town on the Iraqi border. It's hard to imagine the U.S. warplanes could have missed the oil facility by 50 kilometers and hit the town without knowing about it, and the town was undoubtedly hit. That the U.S. is not providing any information is curious, as they are admitting to operating adjacent to the town and would doubtless know if someone else was operating there. Outside of the U.S. coalition, the only country that has any history of attacking Abu Kamal at all is Iraq, whose Air Force has launched some cross-border strikes in the past. Still, the most likely answer is that the U.S. and its coalition partners carried out the attacks that did not go as planned, and the Pentagon is trying to avoid talking about it. In 2115 New England, there are no borders, no states, and no regulations, yet never has a more peaceful and prosperous place existed. But Mr. Drake's security company has seen better days. Faced with the prospect of waning power, Mr. Drake intends to replace the anarchy of New England with a government. But at what cost? And can anyone stop him? Anarchy in New England by Joe Jarvis is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. UPI reports executives of the three major tuna brands in the United States conspired to fix prices, according to criminal and civil court records updated this week. According to an amended class action lawsuit, Chicken of the Sea, Bumblebee, and Starkist colluded to keep prices high for one of America's favorite sandwich ingredients. The big three supply about 80% of the $1.7 billion worth of canned tuna sold annually in the U.S., according to court records. A typical can of tuna cost about $1.50, which, according to the DOJ, may be the result of price fixing by Thai, South Korean, and American seafood dealers. The litigation describes regular telephone calls and meetings where executives agreed that all three companies would collectively raise prices. The government began investigating price fixing among the three companies more than 2 years ago. Earlier this month, Bumblebee Foods pled guilty to conspiring to fix the cost of canned and pouched tuna. The company agreed to pay $25 million in criminal fines, which will increase to a maximum criminal fine of $81.5 million if the company gets sold. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. Reuters reports federal appeals court judges on Monday questioned the lawyer defending President Donald Trump's temporary travel ban about whether it discriminates against Muslims and pressed challengers to explain why the court should not defer to Trump's presidential power to set policy. The three-judge panel of the 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals was the second court in a week to review Trump's directive banning people entering the United States from 6 Muslim-majority countries. Opponents, including the state of Hawaii and civil rights groups, say that both Trump's first ban and the later revised second ban discriminate against Muslims. The government argues that the text of the order does not mention any specific religion and is needed to protect the country against attacks. In addressing the DOJ at the hearing in Seattle, 9th Circuit Judge Richard Paez pointed out that many of Trump's statements about the Muslims came during the midst of a highly contentious election campaign. He asked if that should be taken into account when deciding how much weight they should be given in reviewing the travel ban's constitutionality. Neil Katyal, an attorney for Hawaii, which is opposing the ban, said the evidence goes beyond Trump's campaign statements. The DOJ argues that Trump issued his order solely to protect national security. Outside of the courtroom in Seattle, a group of protesters gathered carrying signs with slogans including "The ban is still racist" and "No ban, no wall." This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
Everyone in Pennington is talking about it. Something smells like weed in that back part of the library. Head librarian Cookie Stevens and library volunteers Margaret Mosier and Gail Fredericks were in the middle of discussing the upcoming used book sale when they smelled something strange.
So Daddy smelled marijuana somewhere, and we're like shocked. Yeah. And so Doug goes, "Do you smell it?"
Without any way to confirm that the smell was indeed weed, Cookie Stevens called her husband, Sheriff Stevens, who called in local ceramics teacher Dutch Gibbs, who lived in Seattle for a few months in the 70s.
Yeah, that's weed.
Sheriff Stevens has begun compiling a list of potential suspects, including that boy Lance, who has girl hair and hangs out down by the quarry, Greg Fromke, who was spotted this evening really going to town on some potato skins at Steaky Jake's Steakhouse, and Mr. Thompson. Luckily, one young reading enthusiast seemed unperturbed by the illicit smell.
Yeah, I don't smell anything. I really love the library.
The weed smell comes on the heels of last month's discovery of a gigantic pair of women's underpants in the children's fiction section. According to Stevens, that case remains open as well.
Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live.
You dial toll free. You bring up what you want. With you tonight, it's Ian
and Mark.
Our number here is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype as well. The Skype username is LRN.FM. We've been talking about some, businessy related things. We started out with Bitcoin, which, Mark, you say we've pretty much gotten through the meat of that piece, but you're going to post the whole thing, if you haven't yet, on our Facebook and Twitter.
I have.
So good. So people can go and check that out and get into the more dirty technological details of what the guy had to say to the Bitcoin miners. As we sit back and watch the price of Bitcoin continue to rise throughout the day today, it's gone up quite a bit in just the last couple of hours. The price is doing very well, but Bitcoin itself is sick behind the scenes. So what is going to happen? Well, of course, you can always go to Bitcoin.com and follow the latest news about Bitcoin. If you're new to Bitcoin, that's a great place to start to learn about it. Once again, that's Bitcoin.com. According to Gilles Parkinson, yep, that's the name, Gilles Parkinson, over at reneweconomy.com.au, he writes, by 2030, you probably won't own a car, but you may get a free trip with your morning coffee. Transportation as a service will use only electric vehicles and will upend $2 trillion industries. It's the death spiral for cars, he says. A major new report predicts that by 2030, the overwhelming majority of consumers will no longer own a car. Instead, they will use on-demand electric autonomous vehicles. By 2030, within 10 years of regulatory
approval. What's the difference between a car and an on-demand electric autonomous vehicle?
You won't own it.
Okay.
By 2030, within 10 years of regulatory approval of autonomous electric vehicles, also known as AEVs, the report says 95% of all U.S. passenger miles traveled will be served by on-demand autonomous electric vehicles that will be owned by fleets rather than individuals. So
taxis are currently basically owned by fleets, so it makes a sound. It's sound. Uber, I know, is working.
They're
with
working on this.
Google, as I understand, was a recent report that Uber is working with Google to create this. And I mean, you got those two giants working together. It's liable to happen, right?
Uber is already testing their autonomous vehicles, so it's happening as we're speaking.
I can't wait. I'm sick and tired of vehicles. Now, let me ask you
this. You do have to
this.
wonder if they're going to be out of the urban areas anytime soon, because obviously it's, where the population centers are is where these vehicles are going to be used more consistently throughout the day. But
the nice thing about vehicles is they move.
That's true.
It depends on how far out you're talking about.
Yeah.
If you're sitting in a Nebraska cornfield 200 miles from some metro or something, it's probably going to be a while till they get to you.
Right.
But if you're, a couple of miles out of town or whatever, then it might come pretty quickly. Also, but I would say there's some problems with things like, I don't know what percentage of the population owns a pickup truck, but it's a good percentage. A good percentage, a very large percentage owns an SUV. So now you don't always need the space that an SUV has. You don't always need the bed of a truck, but you have them for a reason.
In case you do need them.
In case you do need them. And one would presume that many of the people that own these things actually need them. I see a lot of really nice trucks around my town, which suggests to me that these people don't need them, because a truck seems like a work vehicle to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I use mine. My F-350 gets stuff thrown in the back on a relatively regular basis. So what are they going to do about that?
Well, again, I don't know.
How would you know?
This is just what the prediction is. And again, we're talking about passenger miles here. So that may be different from workers, right? That may be different from people who are hauling loads of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Although, of course, Walmart is definitely working on autonomous 18-wheelers. So, that's going to be a thing too. And that's going to be a big threat to the professional driving industry out there, who I'm sure see this on the horizon and maybe thinking real hard about other lines of work that they can get into soon. If you're not, you probably should. The provision of this service may come virtually free as part of another offering or corporate sponsorship. Imagine, for instance, paying a token sum for a ride into town after buying a latte for $4.50, or getting a free ride.
Is that what they cost?
What?
A latte.
I have no idea. I don't buy coffee. Or getting a free ride because the local government has decided to make transport easier. The report by Rethink X, an independent think tank that focuses on technology-driven disruption and its implications across society, says this stunning and radical change will be driven entirely by economics and will overcome the current desire for individual car ownership, starting first in the big cities and then spreading to the suburbs and the regional areas. The disruption will have enormous implications across the transportation and oil industries, decimating...
A large latte, a cafe latte, is $4.15.
Okay.
Wow.
Sounds believable to me. The disruption will have enormous implications among transportation and oil industries, decimating entire portions of their value chains, causing oil demand and prices to plummet, and destroying trillions of dollars in investor value.
Oil demand's going to plummet? Oh, because of the electric
cars.
Vehicles. Now, one thing I would say is that car ownership is very inefficient. Right? Like, I own a car so that once or twice a day I can hop in it and go into town to work or whatever it is that I need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it basically sits there. It's sitting there right now. I'm not using it at this moment either.
Right.
90-something% of the time,
it's
completely unused. It would be far more efficient, as far as repairs and all kinds of things go, if cars just did their thing, went around and they were constantly being used. If somebody could use my car right now and I could trust them not to put cigarette burns in the seat or, whatever it is that they might do, get into an accident or whatever, then that would be a far more efficient use of the vehicle.
Especially if you were getting compensated for it.
If I was being,
Right. As the owner of the car.
Yeah.
So, the idea here would be that these companies would own these cars, and you'd get in and use it, and then somebody else would get in and use it, and so on and so forth throughout the day. They would keep them up to date. They would, do the repairs necessary to make sure they were operating properly, and that when you were in those cars, they'd be autonomous, so you wouldn't have to worry about the person being a bad driver.
I hope there's cameras in them so that people aren't, scribbling on the walls.
That's going to be one of the problems.
Tearing up the seats
and
that's doing all the
puking.
things that they do. Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be part of the problem. So, at some point, that car is going to have to go back to some sort of human who can clean the thing out and make sure it's
They could
good
make
condition.
the seats really hard in these vehicles.
Like the back of a police cruiser?
Yeah. Like a school bus seat or something, something that couldn't be damaged, and you just hose it out if the puke gets in it.
They could. Those might be the ones that pick you up from the bars.
Yeah.
Because the average executive isn't going to want to sit on hard seats, right? So it may depend on the client. It may depend on the area. It may depend on a variety of things. Think about it. If you're some suit who's arriving for a convention, you probably aren't going to want to sit back in the equivalent of a police cruiser with hard plastic seats.
I think that's exactly what you would have us doing when we went to the conventions. 100%. We would we'd sleep in the same hotel room, and we would get into the puke mobile, and we would go to the convention, and we'd have to park in sort of sideways in between everybody's limos. That's what would happen.
Well, we're just trying to save money for our listeners who support us going to those conventions.
I'm teasing you, but the reality is that you're frugal with other people's money.
The disruption, again, will have enormous implications across transportation and oil industries. At the same time, it will create trillions of dollars in new business opportunities, consumer surplus, and GDP growth. Lead consultant and co-author Tony Seba, who specializes in disruptive technologies. His early forecasts for the enormous uptake of solar were considered crazy, but were proved right, and he has since said that new technologies will make coal, oil, and gas all but redundant by 2030. He says that while the report focuses on the United States, the forecasts are valid for Australia too, because the transportation industry is global, and he warns that the car you may buy now may very well be your last. He says, quote, "This is a global technology disruption, and this is going to happen despite governments, not because of governments." Furthermore, he says the disruption will start in cities with high population density and high real estate prices, and then quickly radiate out into the suburbs.
Parking's ridiculous. I mean, you're paying...
Yeah, that's going to solve that problem.
You're paying the equivalent of rent to park your car.
It's $50 a day in New York City and Manhattan. Toll-free number here, 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. Your thoughts about the future of transportation. And you can also bring up anything that's on your mind. Plus, there's other interesting business news about restaurant chains. They're having trouble. It's Free Talk Live.
Bitcoin.com recently reported Bitcoin transaction fees have increased by more than 1,200% since 2015. To many Bitcoin proponents, the current fee market is moving way too fast, making Bitcoin unusable for certain transactions. The fee market and slow confirmation times have also increased the tension concerning the block size debate. However, if there are wallets with low amounts of Bitcoin that can't cover the fees, they become virtually unspendable. Learn more at news.bitcoin.com. That's news.bitcoin.com.
Do you need a website for your blog or new business? It can be pretty intimidating on your own, and that's why Free Talk Live has partnered with HostGator, one of the top hosting companies. HostGator offers a simple, one-click, easy installation for WordPress, 24/7 over the phone or live chat tech support, and a very intuitive, user-friendly control panel that puts the power of creation back into your hands. Go to HostGator.com/FTL and you'll get 50% off of their regular hosting prices. 50% off. HostGator.com/FTL.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-765-9681 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-765-9681. Again, that's 800-765-9681.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you gotta keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and one with just the Edgington Post. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you're helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
You can connect with the Liberty Radio Network via our Facebook page at facebook.lrn.fm. That's facebook.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. Dial toll free. Bring up what you want. Our number here is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We do have Skype as well. Skype username here is LRN.FM. And do you want to help build a better financial system for everyone? Well, join Dash. Dash is Digital Cash, a digital money platform designed to replace cash and help people manage their own wealth. It's fast, private, and easy. Fees are low and transactions are fast, or can even be confirmed instantly. You can pay anyone, anywhere in the world, anytime for just pennies on the dollar. It's like how Bitcoin used to be, but even faster than Bitcoin originally was. Dash is decentralized, run by users who earn rewards for helping run the network and make governance decisions. Anyone can invest in Dash and earn rewards for helping run the Dash network. Join Dash and help create a better financial system for everyone. Take back control over your financial future today. Find out more at Dash.org. There's a lot of momentum behind Dash right now. Go to Dash.org and find out why. That's Dash, D-A-S-H, Dash.org. And we continue here with your calls and thoughts. We're talking about the future, if there is one, of car ownership. The prediction here by some of the experts is that this may be, if you're getting a car right now, it may be the last car you ever buy. By 2030, they're saying it's going to be all autonomous electric vehicles just picking you up and taking you places without you owning them.
Everything I've heard is that car leases are extraordinarily inexpensive right now. That people are getting, they're paying $150, $125 a month for a car lease when I paid $200 a month for a used Accord that I bought in 1998. Car payments have gotten ridiculously low. Now, in many cases, these have low mileage requirements on them, and they get you on the miles. But another sort of factor here is that I think car manufacturers are essentially doing what Walmart did to Kmart. In the mid to late 90s, Walmart basically said, as I recall, that they intended to eviscerate Kmart. Like they were going to leave them dead on the pavement. And they were
pretty much did.
They were going to run loss leaders, just basically get people in the door buying stuff and starve Kmart out. And they didn't care if they lost money doing it. They were going to starve Kmart out. And I think that the car manufacturers are basically doing the same thing. They're taking less of a profit or even no profit in order to get people to not buy at a used car dealer. You understand? So if a person who would normally, buy at a buy here, pay here lot could go to a car dealer and get a lease or whatever that, they get low payments. If they're being sucked away from these used car dealers, how long do you think it's going to be before the used car dealer just shutters their doors? I don't think they have to do this for very long. I think they could shut down. I think they have shut down a good percentage of them already. I think they could shut down in 3 months if they really, really tried hard. They could shut down probably 75% of the used car dealers in America.
Let's continue with your calls and thoughts here. Sarah in New Mexico. This is, Sarah's definitely somebody who would be happy to see the end of the individual-owned car. Sarah, go ahead with your call tonight.
Yeah, it's a very interesting topic. Obviously, I wish for that. It'll be my dream come true. But today, you know what? I donated $3 to the Lung Association at the CVS store today.
The what association?
Did you say lung?
Lung Association.
Yeah, the Lung Association to help the women's lung health. So
why women's lung health?
Why not everyone?
What's wrong with men's lungs?
That's what my receipt. I read my receipt. It was meant to go towards, the money was to go towards especially for women's lung health. So, I guess my thing is that what it means is that they're going to help women quit, which means that the mothers with the children are going to be quitting so the less children will get sick. That's how I interpreted it. You know what I mean? That's my understanding.
I really support CVS in getting rid of tobacco products.
Which they did like a year ago, right?
It's probably longer than that. From their stores. They're a place of healing. They're a place of health. They shouldn't be selling, basically the biggest killer on the planet.
Yeah, I wonder what that did to their revenues.
I don't know, but I'm glad that they took the initiative, and I've tried to buy more things there as a result. Not that I buy a lot, I go through shop.freetalklive.com or saveitpurse.com, but nonetheless, that's what I support. Now, on the other hand, the Lung Association, they're always behind legislation and all this other stuff, and that's not what I support. And especially this whole "let's help women" thing. I mean, why are we choosing a gender and then trying to help those people? Well, because it makes people feel good that we're helping the ladies. Well, it stinks that the guys aren't being helped.
Well, I don't know what the psychological twist of it was. What do you think is the reason behind that? It's always the women. Is it kind of like the women and the children? Is that more people are more sympathetic?
I think
to help, give money.
There's far more men that are homeless than women because the organizations that want to help, these folks tend to make sure that women have homes.
Well, the thing about it is, and then the women are the one that runs the whole family. So if the mother quits, she's going to make sure all the children are not around smokers, and then she's going to make sure that their husbands quit or something like that. And
I'd say you make a good argument there.
I think so.
Well, the thing about it is, and the women are in charge of the children. And I think if you make the mothers quit, the children will have less ear infections, less asthma. That's kind of like my assumption. So there must be some kind of a reason. You're right. Maybe people will give more money. Oh, it's for women, Then, actually, if I give money to the homeless people, I usually give to an older lady because I really do feel sorry for them more so than a man or something. You're right.
I understand.
Sarah, thanks for calling to share your thoughts tonight. I appreciate hearing from you. Interesting you bring up CVS. I'm looking here just to see, how long has it been? I was curious, what's been in the news? Has there been like a retrospective? And according to USA Today, a year later, so this was written in 2015, CVS says stopping tobacco sales made a big difference. They say that it caused people to buy 95 million fewer packs of cigarettes in 13 states, according to CVS Health in a new study.
How could that be? People quit because CVS isn't supplying cigarettes?
The new study compared total sales of tobacco products at all types of stores in the 13 states where CVS has more than 15% of market share, with sales in states that don't have any CVS stores. The study, conducted by CVS's Health Research Institute, evaluated cigarette pack purchases at drug, food, mass merchandise, dollar, convenience, and gas station stores in the 8 months after CVS stopped selling tobacco products. Over the same period, the average smoker in these states purchased 5 fewer cigarette packs. The 95 million fewer packs sold, CVS said, was a 1% decrease in the number of packs sold. During 2014, nearly 264 billion cigarettes were sold in the United States, a decrease from approximately 273 billion sold in 2013.
So maybe people rationed their cigarettes a little bit when they realized that it was going to be a little harder to get a hold of them later on. They'd have to wait a little till later on in the day or something to get them?
I don't know. CVS's study showed a 4% increase in nicotine patch purchases in those 13 states.
God bless them.
There's more coming up here in moments, and you can take control of the airwaves here on Free Talk Live.
Yesterday, I got a call from the IRS. They say I owe them over $16,000. I don't have that kind of money.
Don't try to fight the IRS on your own. Use Coast One Financial Group and let them help you get a fresh start. If you owe at least $10,000 in back taxes, call now for a free and confidential tax debt analysis. Call Coast One now for a free consultation at 800-643-4661 now. 800-643-4661. That's 800-643-4661.
Looking for that edge during those intimate moments? We see many ads for enhancement, but the side effects include death. At GCN Team, we should change the Healthy Body, Brain, and Heart Pack to the Healthy Libido Pack. The brain and heart are not the only organs that require a healthy vascular system. For proper blood flow at the right moment, go to GCNteam.com or call 877-878-4203. That's 877-878-4203. That's 877-878-4203.
A congressman recently revealed that legislation totaling 2,900 pages and involving more than $1 trillion was available to members of Congress for less than 48 hours to study and consider. That's over 60 pages of legislation per hour. Do you think anyone read the entire bill? I'm Jim Babka with DownsizeDC.org. Consider a proposal buried in a 3,200-page, $388 billion bill, which would have empowered committee chairmen or their agents to examine Americans' tax returns. When this horrible provision came to light, no one claimed to know how it got into the bill. One congressman questioned said, "I didn't write it, I didn't approve it, I wasn't even consulted." If your attorney represented you this way, he might be disbarred. But this is how Congress represents you every day. That's why DownsizeDC.org has created the Read the Bills Act. You can force Congress to read their bills before they pass them at DownsizeDC.org.
In Survivor Max 2, School Bites, Max must scavenge through a wasteland swarming with the undead. Desperate to find the medicine he needs, he discovers a community of survivors at his former school. Has he finally found the safe haven he's been looking for, or will he discover that school bites? Look for Survivor Max on Facebook, read reviews on Amazon, and read Chapter 1 at SurvivorMax.com.
Free Talk Live has partnered with Amazon, the largest internet retailer. Imagine a department store category, and Amazon has it. Books, electronics, office products, furniture, jewelry, automotive, toys, clothing, sporting goods, and dozens of other categories. Now you can shop and support Free Talk Live by entering Amazon through our website. Go to shop.freetalklive.com, and Amazon will send us a portion of your purchase. You're going to do the shopping anyway, so remember to enter through our site at shop.freetalklive.com. That's shop.freetalklive.com. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at LRN.FM.
Free Talk Live, dial toll-free, bring up anything you want. Our number here, 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. We're talking about innovations. Some big changes coming up here in the automotive industry. Some are predicting the death of the individually owned car. Like, you'll still have some little device on wheels that comes and takes you places, but it probably won't be owned by you, is what they're saying, in just the next, they're saying the next 13 years. It's Ian and Mark in the studio here tonight. As always, you can join us toll-free, 855-450-FREE. Mark, what's the latest on the orphanage in Uganda that you have been helping fundraise for with the help of our listeners to help build an orphanage for some kids?
Well, they're getting the walls up. They've had enough materials left over from the creation of the foundation to be able to work on the walls, and I'm still raising to be able to get more materials, so they don't need to stop midway through here. And that's why I need people to go to hope.freetalklive.com to help us to build these. I've managed to get Virgil Viduva from Cell 411 to agree to match funds again. So
amazing.
Anything you go over there and you decide to donate, please let me know. There's a GoFundMe if you're more comfortable with that. I also sort of discovered last night that I misread the proposal. So I remember this. I read the proposal originally. This has been I must have got this thing in December for the building of the orphanage, and the grand total, I remember scanning down to the bottom and looking at the grand total, was like $60,000, which, I'm like, $60,000 is a lot of money to raise from our listeners, but in the grand scheme of things, $60,000 really isn't much in building a 2-story orphanage that's going to hold, some staff and 40 kids, right?
Okay.
I mean, would you agree that $60,000 isn't much for building a building?
No, I mean...
Yes? I mean, you would agree?
I would say that that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not a construction expert, and I don't know what buildings cost in Uganda.
This thing was like a wish list that included a car for the orphanage and a motorcycle and like a few other things to go along with it. The orphanage is only going to cost like $20,000.
Okay.
So I was really kind of stunned as far as the pricing goes on this, and we should have, it should be relatively easy to reach this goal if everybody just pitch in a little bit. And remember, your numbers are going to be amplified by Cell 411. Also, the Jax has expressed some interest in, helping in some way. So I don't know what they're going to do precisely. Also, Roger Ver has expressed interest in helping too. So I'm really hoping we'll be able to hit these numbers very quickly. But I'd like to keep the momentum going. So please go and donate as Robert did today.
What's the new goal? What are you trying to raise?
Well, I'm trying to get to... I'd like to get $8,000 for the walls to get completed.
Okay.
And once, that way we got to go 2 stories on these things. They're right now they're about knee height, and I'm getting updates all the time. And we need, mortar basically. We need rebar. There's going to have to be some wiring, and then roofing's going to have to go in. So $8,000 would be nice. If you would just go to hope.freetalklive.com, and yes, you will be your donation will be amplified.
That's hope.freetalklive.com. We are sharing from reneweconomy.com.au about a study in the United States, or a report that is predicting that by 2030, the overwhelming majority of consumers will no longer own a car. You might today, but in the next 15 years, there's a good chance you won't anymore. They're saying that it's going to spread out from the cities, and then it'll go from there into suburbs, and then ultimately into smaller cities and rural areas. Indeed, there are some people who are starting to anticipate this change, considering Australian-based business models and even local manufacturing, such as those revealed on Monday by Michael Molitor, the head of a new company called A2EMCO. Seba says does not say that the individual car ownership will completely disappear by 2030, which again, we're only 13 years away from that. 40%.
We're all going to make it, the vast majority of us listening are going to make it to 2030.
40% of cars will still be privately owned, but they will only account for 5% of kilometers traveled. Autonomous cars will be used 10 times more than internal combustion vehicles were, and they will last longer, maybe 1 million miles.
I'll bet you will also see things like, probably licensing fees will go up. The government is going to look at
because they need the revenue.
Right. The government's going to say, oh, no, we're not getting anything out of gas revenue because all these vehicles are going to be electric.
Right.
We're not getting anything from gas anymore. We need to hit the people that use the roads, and those people are going to be these people with cars, right? The autonomous vehicles, of course, are going to get hit hard because they're going to be 60% of the cars.
They'll start doing a mileage tax.
Yeah, well, maybe they'll do a mileage tax. Maybe they'll just do, just for licensing. If you want to put a license plate in your car, it's not going to be $100. I mean, here in New Hampshire, it's based on the value of the car. So if you own like a Lamborghini or something like that, you're paying probably tens of thousands of dollars licensure. I have no idea. I don't own anything like that.
But in some states, they have done the mileage tax, haven't they? Like in Oregon or something like that?
They've tested it. But it would really just be easier to raise the fees on the licenses, on license plates, wouldn't it?
It would be, but then you're punishing, not to say government wouldn't do this, but then you would be punishing those people who don't drive that much. And ultimately,
you'd be incentivizing them to use the vehicles that are on the road that are doing the driving. So that's what I'm saying is if they did that, it would push people out of car ownership, right? Like if it was,
but they're saying it'll happen in spite of the government. They're saying people are going to just drop cars because that's going to be the economic choice.
The government will still be there.
Yeah.
And they're going to react to this new future.
I understand that.
One of the ways they could react is to raise license plate fees. And if they did that, if it was $5,000 a year to put a license plate on your vehicle, would you still own one?
But if Montana, for instance, wants to undercut the rest of the states and have the lowest fees, then all these mega corporations that are going to own these cars are just going to register their cars in Montana. So there's still to some extent competition between states.
You can't do a local business and put license plates on your vehicle from some other state. It's not going to happen.
Well, I guess they could try to change the law, but it's my understanding that as long as the vehicle is registered in another place, it can operate anywhere. I don't know. I'm not an expert on those kind of things, Mark, but that's what I understand. I mean, because Uber can have an office in California and it can have an office in Montana.
Sure.
And I don't know if every state is going to demand that a corporate vehicle that could go from Montana to California.
When all those government bureaucrats see all those cars rolling around their state with Montana plates on them, it's against the law basically to have a vehicle that's not registered in place, and they just come up with a new law.
Sure, yeah, they could very well do that. I don't know if it's against the law currently, Mark. I don't think that it is in every state.
If a vehicle spends 95% of its time in X state, then that vehicle needs to have X license plate. Bam, you're done.
Yeah, they could very well do that. So anyway, autonomous vehicles, they say, will be used 10 times more than internal combustion vehicles were, and that they will last longer, maybe up to 1 million miles. What's your typical car go for? If you're lucky, 300,000?
Yeah, but one of the reasons is that a 300,000-mile car is, 15 years old minimum?
Okay.
I'm just guessing. You'd be driving a heck of a lot to put 300,000 miles on a car before 15 years.
And so you're saying just the oldness factor of the parts?
It's old, right? Like there's rubber pieces, there's springs, there's all kinds of things that wear out at different rates. They tell you to change your oil at 3,000 miles or 6 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's because oil deteriorates and gets old. So if you were using an electric car, which should last longer than a combustion engine anyway, but if you're using an electric car, yeah, I absolutely believe you can get 1 million miles out of these things, because in all likelihood, they're going to be running
constantly,
almost constantly. Probably they'll slow down from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., but there's still going to be cars on the road.
Sibbe admits that his forecasts are hard to digest, but what he sees in the transition to autonomous electric vehicles from privately owned petrol cars is the same he has seen for all other major transitions, what he calls the 10x opportunity cost. It happened with the printing press, he said, and it happened with the first Model T. It cost the same as a carriage and 2 horses, but offered 10 times the horsepower. Every time we had a 10x change in technology, he says, we had a disruption. This is going to be no different. The toll-free number here, 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. A little bit more on the future of electric vehicles. Maybe that's what's going to be motoring you about in less than a decade or so. More coming up here on Free Talk Live.
Have you ever thought you'd like to flip houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? Are you ready to be your own boss so you can start living the good life? Hi, I'm Preston Ely. I used to be so broke. I had my electricity turned off 9 times, but I figured out a way to quit my job and find financial freedom in real estate. For a limited time, I want to send you a free copy of my smash hit selling book, How to Get Rich in Real Estate. It shows you how to copy exactly what I did so you can make money from the comfort of your own home without even doing any manual labor. I've already given away 5,000 books and they're going fast. To get one before they're gone, call 1-800-958-9256. Listen, if you're sick and tired of stressing about money, this book could change your life. It's short, fun to read, easy to understand, and awesome. To find out how to get your free book while supplies last, call 1-800-958-9256. Call 1-800-958-9256. 1-800-958-9256.
Are you drowning in debt? Are you struggling to make minimum payments? Did you know that on average a household with at least one credit card struggles with over $10,000 in credit card debt? If this sounds like you, know that it's not your fault. Credit card debt happens to good people. Credit card companies lure you in with low introductory rates and low minimum payments. Before you know it, you're in over your head. We've helped thousands of good people just like you become debt-free with our Debt Reset program that will dramatically reduce your debt down to a fraction of what you owe. Our Debt Reset program is customized to get you debt-free in as little as 24 to 48 months with one low monthly payment. If you owe over $10,000 in credit card debt or even personal loans, call 800-912-6177. There are no upfront fees or out-of-pocket expenses. You don't pay a dime until we succeed. Call now to see how the Debt Reset program can work for you. 800-912-6177. That's 800-912-6177. Again, 800-912-6177.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. It's my firm belief that Free Talk Live's AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented organizations. Support all the organizations you love, but make sure you give $5 a month to AMP at amp.freetalklive.com. I love My Magic Mud. I drink a lot of coffee. I had stains on my teeth. Then I found My Magic Mud, and I was told it would remove stains. So I paid attention when I brushed the first time. My Magic Mud is black tooth powder, and the difference it made in my teeth in one application was noticeable. With 4, my teeth were as white as you normal folks out there. Please go to mymagicmud.com and buy a jar. There's 150 applications for $25. You can use Bitcoin. mymagicmud.com.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live, and you may join us here. The toll-free number for you is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. If you want to help support what we do on Free Talk Live, then please go and become a Free Talk Live amplifier at amp.freetalklive.com. If you like the fact that we talk about the ideas of peace and freedom and liberty 7 nights a week on over 160 great radio stations from coast to coast, then you can get behind the show for $5 a month, and we will take that money in and invest it into Free Talk Live so we can achieve more listeners hearing the ideas of liberty. And if that's, again, worth $5 a month to you, the price of a latte?
Yeah. $4.15. Good Lord. It is the price of like a latte.
If a price of a fancy cup of coffee is worth it to you to spend on Free Talk Live per month, then please just go to amp.freetalklive.com. You'll get perks like access to the AMP-only call-in lines, the AMP-only podcast, the AMP-only Facebook group, and more. Head over to amp.freetalklive.com. Ian and Mark in the studio here tonight talking about the future, or the not so great future for the gas-powered automobile, the individually owned gas-powered automobile. They're saying here that within the next 13 years, by 2030, that most people, the supermajority of them, aren't even going to own a car. Well, they said like 40% might own a car, but 5% of the miles that they drive will be driven in their own car. That most of their driving is going to be done by these autonomous electric vehicles owned by fleets like Uber and whatever other companies have yet to come out into existence. But the idea being that, as you were pointing out, Mark, that put these cars on the road all the time rather than a bunch of cars sitting in a parking lot all day while people are at work, or people sitting in a driveway all night while people are sleeping. This is wasted capital. This is money that could be put to use. That investment could be put to use to get people places. And if that was happening, then there wouldn't need to be nearly as many cars, because they'd be always constantly being used.
We have this technology today. I mean, it was taxi cabs previously. It's Uber then, right? The thing that really makes this a deal killer for getting rid of your car is the free driver. personnel costs when it comes to taxi cabs
That was
and
the
Uber,
killer.
Those are the big overhead.
Right.
You know, you've got somebody driving that car to take you someplace. Now, it's in some ways, some people find it more efficient than owning a car, and I understand completely why that would be. Other people,
You mean hiring a taxi?
hiring an Uber. You know, I mean, if you're in a big city and parking costs you $50 a day,
right?
That's $1,500 isn't that right? $1,500 a month. I mean, it's an incredible
lot.
sum. I mean, I've never paid that in rent, and you know. So you're going to probably, see the value pretty quickly in using, these vehicles and getting rid of the car. Now, a lot of people in big cities currently don't have cars at all, and so they're doing the Uber thing. However, when you're out in the country and it's going to take, a while for somebody to come get you or whatever, but I would suspect that these companies and these computers are going to figure out when, say, I'm ready to go to work.
Right.
Well, it's 6 o'clock. We better have a vehicle
Have a car
sitting
there.
right around the corner for Mark to hop on in because he every day needs one at this time.
Especially if you got a contract with him.
Yeah, and so it's you probably
That's
get a
just
little cheaper.
logistics, figuring out where the things need to be best
Computers
positioned.
are great with logistics.
Yeah, exactly. So back to the story here from reneweconomy.com.au, looking at the predictions here by the so-called experts. They say that the change that he says will happen on day one of Level 5 autonomous EVs, that's electric vehicles, obtaining regulatory approval. He says basically the day that autonomous vehicles are regulatorily accepted, transport as a service will be 10 times cheaper than the cost of new vehicles and 4 times cheaper than the cost of already owned vehicles. Why is this? Because everything will be cheaper. Like his predictions of the rise of solar power and the sudden decline of fossil fuels, Seba's calculations are driven by simple economics. Within a few years, the upfront costs of the autonomous electric vehicles will match those of petrol cars. But the depreciation costs will be minimal because the cars owned by fleets will, quote, last a lifetime, unquote. Maintenance costs will be significantly lower thanks to 20 moving parts in the powertrain compared to 2,000 for petrol cars. Now, I didn't realize that there was that kind of a difference. I mean, that's tremendous. That's 100 times.
If it's an
difference.
electric vehicle, that's correct.
That's what he's saying.
Now, I'm not talking about a hybrid like mine. Mine has more moving parts.
Because you're doing the gas and the electric thing.
Right, but it is a very reliable vehicle, and you don't need to do brakes to like 125,000 miles.
But my God, I mean, he was talking about the 10 times difference earlier. Like if you have a 10 times factor of change, that everything's going to change big time in that industry. That's 100 times factor of change between 2,000 moving parts and 20. I mean, that's just tremendous.
Well, the nice thing about a combustion engine is you can go farther in it. You can take a combustion engine from Florida to Alaska, and there isn't going to be a problem. Electric vehicle, there's going to be a problem. Now, Tesla's managed to put up charging stations and that kind of thing.
Right.
So if you're going to make a long-haul trip, there may be other solutions that they have to come up with for you. But how many times are you doing that? Most people doing that in a given year. And
the average person, not so much.
Maybe at that point you would rent an electric vehicle and go
take the
from
bus or
whatever it is. Well, you don't want to take the bus takes forever. The train trains cost 3 times what planes do. Planes you can't carry anything on. They've all got their drawbacks.
The miles traveled will be significantly higher. As a result, they'll be doing 1.6 million kilometers by 2030, more than 5 times more than petrol cars. Moreover, battery technology will also improve, needing to be replaced only once, and old batteries will be able to be used elsewhere in the power grid. The cost of maintenance will be 1/5 the cost of current cars, the cost of finance 1/10, and the cost of insurance also 1/10.
Yeah, that's going to make a big difference.
The survival of car manufacturers will depend on building cars with long lifetimes and low operating costs. This means that they will optimize for minimum waste of resources in building and operating vehicles, including designing vehicle platforms with parts that are interchangeable and recyclable. The report outlines the huge benefits from this transformation: unclogging city roads, removing the pollution that is choking major cities, saving millions of lives from accidents and trillions of dollars in health impacts, and freeing up parking space.
Lots of parking space will be freed up. I mean, nobody's going to have a car anymore.
We often forget about the health impacts of fuel cars. In 2015, in the OECD alone, outdoor air pollution led to $1.7 trillion annual economic costs from premature deaths According to the World Health Organization, 1.25 million people died from road traffic accidents around the world in just 2015. And another 50 million of them were severely injured. Autonomous vehicles will be safer than human drivers, leading to a decrease in road traffic accidents. And although, to be sure, any such accidents caused by faulty software rather than the humans will certainly create a huge controversy. But ultimately, if the numbers are down if you got a tenfold decrease in traffic accidents as well because of electric cars, it's going to be hard to be a critic. It's going to be hard to be a critic of the few times where the blue screen of death caused somebody to, careen off the road, as opposed to, the 20 times more likely that some drunk driver or whatever would careen into them.
There needs to be some kind of insurance set up and, understanding of what it's worth to, you lose your life in one of these vehicles. But it's, if one person dies for 10 saved in these things, it's an increase in technology. It's a better thing.
If you want to join us, you can. Our toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. They say this will also have an impact on geopolitics, with the world no longer dependent on oil reserves for the bulk of its transportation needs.
Imagine not having to worry about what goes on in the Middle East.
Right.
I mean, who's going to benefit the most from this? Probably the people in the Middle East. Suddenly they'll have the United States and Western countries out of their business.
Well, that presumes that the U.S. government's going to give up on warmongering. I mean, you could argue that it's always been done for oil, but it could also be argued that it's being done for the benefit of the military-industrial complex, so they may just continue the wars for the sake of continuing wars.
They don't do them in Africa.
That's true. SEBA recognizes most people assume that the biggest impediments to this scenario are behavioral issues such as love of driving, fear of new technology, or just plain old habit. The cost savings, the speed, the increased safety, and the extra free time will be key factors in convincing these folks. But he says,
how long is it going to be until these self-driving cars come, though, Ian? We've been talking about them for years on Free Talk Live.
They're here. I mean, they're just not in our driveways.
I can't buy it.
No, not yet.
Tesla has the autopilot, but you got to touch the wheel every 10
The government
seconds.
has yet to improve or to approve these things. The government's not just going to let these cars on the road without some sort of hoops that they're going to have to jump through. So you've got Google testing out their autonomous system out in California and elsewhere. You've got Uber testing out theirs, and I'm sure there's more. I'm not a car guy, so I don't follow these things closely. If you are, you're welcome to join us here. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. These companies they mentioned here, Uber, Lyft, and Diddy, have invested billions of dollars in developing technologies and services to overcome these issues. In 2016, these companies drove 500,000 passengers per day in New York City alone. There's more coming up here in moments. You can share your thoughts. You can bring up whatever you want. This is Free Talk Live. Hour 3 is on the way. What do you shop for that you could otherwise buy at Amazon? Pretty much everything, right? Amazon has competitive pricing and they deliver, and that's a big plus. If you could plan ahead in your shopping, would you be interested in saving up to 33%? There's a catch. You have to do your shopping in Bitcoin. But imagine those savings. It's like a huge raise. All you have to do is go to saveitpurse.com. We've saved thousands, and you can too. Plan ahead and save. Saveitpurse.com.
Dash is digital cash, a digital currency designed to replace cash and help people manage their own wealth. It's fast and easy, fees are low, and transactions are confirmed instantly. Pay anyone, anywhere in the world, anytime, for just pennies on the dollar. Dash is the first digital money that's governed by its users. Join Dash and help us build a better financial system for everyone. Find out more at dash.org. That's dash.org.
Ross Ulbricht was convicted in early 2015 of running the infamous Silk Road Underground Market. The Silk Road was a gift to humanity and helped reduce the harms brought on by drug prohibition. For this good deed, Ross has been sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole. Now, an appeal is Ross's only chance, and he needs your support. Please visit freeross.org, where you can contribute via various methods, including Bitcoin. Visit freeross.org. That's freeross.org. Did you know you can watch Free Talk Live during our live show 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cams at cam.freetalklive.com? Plus, you can chat with other listeners while you watch, all totally free. Now that our live video stream is hosted by YouTube, our video archives will be online even faster. So be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Wednesday, May 17th, 2017. Silver's trading at $16.95 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,228 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at 2 cents, and the average price of Bitcoin is $1,823. Antiwar.com reports the death toll of Monday's apparent U.S. airstrike against the Islamic State-held town of Abu Kamal, Syria, continued to rise on Tuesday, with the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights saying that 42 civilians have now died as a result of the attack, which targeted a residential area and adjoining mosque. The Pentagon was mum on the incident on Monday, but on Tuesday issued a blanket denial, insisting that they had carried out no airstrikes against Abu Kamal, nor had any members of their coalition. They did, however, say they attacked oil production facilities just outside of the town on the Iraqi border. It's hard to imagine the U.S. warplanes could have missed the oil facility by 50 kilometers and hit the town without knowing about it, and the town was undoubtedly hit. That the U.S. is not providing any information is curious, as they are admitting to operating adjacent to the town and would doubtless know if someone else was operating there. Outside of the U.S. coalition, the only country that has any history of attacking Abu Kamal at all is Iraq, whose Air Force has launched some cross-border strikes in the past. Still, the most likely answer is that the U.S. and its coalition partners carried out the attacks that did not go as planned, and the Pentagon is trying to avoid talking about it. In 2115 New England, there are no borders, no states, and no regulations, yet never has a more peaceful and prosperous place existed. But Mr. Drake's security company has seen better days. Faced with the prospect of waning power, Mr. Drake intends to replace the anarchy of New England with a government. But at what cost? And can anyone stop him? Anarchy in New England by Joe Jarvis is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. UPI reports executives of the 3 major tuna brands in the United States conspired to fix prices, according to criminal and civil court records updated this week. According to an amended class action lawsuit, Chicken of the Sea, Bumblebee, and Starkist colluded to keep prices high for one of America's favorite sandwich ingredients. The Big 3 supply about 80% of the $1.7 billion worth of canned tuna sold annually in the U.S., according to court records. A typical can of tuna cost about $1.50, which, according to the DOJ, may be the result of price fixing by Thai, South Korean, and American seafood dealers. The litigation describes regular telephone calls and meetings where executives agreed that all 3 companies would collectively raise prices. The government began investigating price fixing among the 3 companies more than 2 years ago. Earlier this month, Bumblebee Foods pled guilty to conspiring to fix the cost of canned and pouched tuna. The company agreed to pay $25 million in criminal fines, which will increase to a maximum criminal fine of $81.5 million if the company gets sold. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. Reuters reports federal appeals court judges on Monday questioned the lawyer defending President Donald Trump's temporary travel ban about whether it discriminates against Muslims and pressed challengers to explain why the court should not defer to Trump's presidential power to set policy. The 3-judge panel of the 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals was the second court in a week to review Trump's directive banning people entering the United States from 6 Muslim-majority countries. Opponents, including the state of Hawaii and civil rights groups, say that both Trump's first ban and the later revised second ban discriminate discriminate against Muslims. The government argues that the text of the order does not mention any specific religion and is needed to protect the country against attacks. In addressing the DOJ at the hearing in Seattle, Ninth Circuit Judge Richard Paez pointed out that many of Trump's statements about the Muslims came during the midst of a highly contentious election campaign. He asked if that should be taken into account when deciding how much weight they should be given in reviewing the travel ban's constitutionality. Neil Katyal, an attorney for Hawaii, which is opposing the ban, said the evidence goes beyond Trump's campaign statements. The DOJ argues that Trump issued his order solely to protect national security. Outside of the courtroom in Seattle, a group of protesters gathered carrying signs with slogans including "The ban is still racist" and "No ban, no wall." This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
While Digital Communications Coordinator Brian Tyler is considered by many of his coworkers to be the cutest guy around the offices of Western Psychological Publishing Services, employees conceded today the 27-year-old is not even particularly attractive.
Brian gets a lot of attention from girls around here, but if I saw him in a bar, I don't know if I would even notice him. Put him next to Glenn or Mike, and then, sure, he actually looks pretty good.
Co-workers explained to reporters that by everyday standards, Tyler would at best be considered moderately good-looking, but explained that given the abundance of unattractive men at the publishing firm, female employees often go out of their way to make small talk with the 27-year-old at his desk or eat lunch with him in the office kitchen.
I saw him walking to work the other day, and half the guys on the street were easily better looking than him. But here, he's the hottest guy around. It's almost kind of sad. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd still him.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, and you can bring up what you want by dialing toll-free here. Take control of the airwaves. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. As we launch into the third hour of the show with you tonight, it's Ian.
And Mark.
We've got Skype as well. The Skype username here is LRN.FM, and you can connect with us there if you like. Well, I don't know how much we've talked about it. Maybe you talked about it on one of the shows that I wasn't on, Mark, but the Puerto Rico. They, as you know, have been bankrupt over there.
Yeah, well, it's not. They're not doing well financially. Yeah. But I've seen a lot of information that says that many businesses are relocating to Puerto Rico because of huge tax savings.
Interesting. Well, right now there's a headline over at the New York Times that talks about how while Puerto Rico is fiscally messed up, they are now talking even more seriously about becoming a state, becoming the 51st American state. The story coming out of San Juan, Puerto Rico. It's a proudly Spanish-speaking territory at a time when the White House has taken.
You all right there, buddy? The
White House has taken down the Spanish version of its website, and its it is as materially poor
petty is that?
As it is culturally rich. And Puerto Rico has entered a new and exotic version of bankruptcy, facing a staggering $123 billion in debt and pension obligations. In short, it's difficult to imagine a worse time for governing party officials in the struggling Caribbean Commonwealth to persuade Washington that it is ready to become the 51st American state. But they have pledged to make their case anyway. According to Ramon Rosario Cortez, tell them that it seems impossible and they will conjure the long moral arc of the universe and how it bends towards Puerto Rican statehood. That's what they told the blacks, an indignant Cortez said.
Well, wait a second. Puerto Rico isn't being kept from being a state. It has chosen at every turn not to be a state. That is a bit different. If you choose to sit at the back of the bus, that is something different than being sent to the back of the bus. I don't know why he would say that precisely, but maybe he can defend it. Go ahead.
He says that's what they told the blacks. He's the Puerto Rico Public Affairs Secretary, was interviewed last week, saying further that, quote, they were wasting their time attending the marches of Martin Luther King Jr. because nobody was ever going to hear the cry of the people, unquote. A vigorous push for statehood was a central campaign promise of Governor Ricardo Rosselló, age 38, who was inaugurated in January. Next month, he will ask residents to vote in a non-binding referendum for statehood as part of a long-term fix for a Commonwealth facing a period of severe austerity that is likely to include shuttered public schools, frozen salaries, slashed pensions, and crimped investments in public health. The island remains in the grip of a recession that has lingered for much of the past decade. Statehood, Mr. Rosello and his allies argue, would mean more investment in infrastructure, which would attract more businesses and create a more stable economy. Mr. Rosello has also criticized Puerto Rico's current relationship with the mainland as a colonial status that deprives its 3.4 million residents of the, quote, right to political, social, and economic equality under the U.S. flag, unquote. But Mr. Rosello must not simply convince a wary Congress, which by law holds key to Puerto Rico's relationship with the United States. On the island, the status issue, as it is typically called, has for decades been the defining and most divisive question at the heart of Puerto Rican politics. The three main political parties are not really divided along ideological lines. Rather, Puerto Ricans know them as the Party of Statehood, the Party of Independence, and the party that supports some improved version of the status quo. Voters in the June 11th referendum will be asked to choose among those three visions, and Mr. Rosello's allies are making a big push. Treasure your American citizenship, read signs posted around the Capitol. Guarantee it, vote for statehood, unquote. But the resistance runs deep.
I guess Puerto Rico voted for statehood in 2012.
Okay. But then what? Was non-binding?
They're working on it. In 2014, resolutions were introduced in both houses of the United States Congress to hold a yes-no referendum among the residents of Puerto Rico on statehood, because this wasn't a yes-no. Should a yes majority prevail, the President of the United States would submit legislation to Congress enacting Puerto Rican statehood. Both resolutions died in committee, so they didn't actually ever sort of get the resolution, the vote to get the vote out.
Which committee did they die in? Puerto Rican committee or
there would be
Congress committee?
United States Congress, H.R. 2000 and Senate Bill 2020.
So presumably the Congress people did not want them to become a state, is what you're saying.
I guess. It would have been a lot easier to do it under Obama's administration than it would be under Trump's, would be my guess.
Jose Falo, age 36, a black Puerto Rican who served in the Army until 1984 from 1978, was visiting the Department of Veterans Affairs Hospital in San Juan last week. He said he would like to see the Commonwealth receive the same treatment as states, but not become a state. Quote, I've lived in the United States during my period in the Army, and they don't treat the Puerto Ricans the same way as the Americans, he says.
Who's they?
I don't know.
The people in the United States?
Or maybe the government. Such is the swirl of complex feelings towards the mainland in Puerto Rico, obtained by the United States in 1898 as a spoil of the Spanish-American War. Its mashup of Caribbean culture has long encompassed strains of ardent American patriotism and concerns about the dilution of their unique Hispanic heritage and its compatibility with the broader American project. In San Juan, the capital is adorned on the inside with paintings of Puerto Ricans who served with particular distinction and bravery in the American military. Abraham Lincoln's famous quotation, quote, government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth, unquote, graces the exterior. Some Puerto Ricans believe the best expression of that sentiment would be a declaration of independence from the United States, but their numbers are small. The Puerto Rican Independence Party has never won the governorship. Quote, I don't feel optimistic at all about achieving independence, said Humberto Rodriguez Ortiz, age 29, an artist and bartender. He says, I just hope for it like a little kid. During the Cold War era, the FBI tried to undermine the independence movement.
It's not like Caribbean nations are like rolling in wealth. I don't know that. I mean, it would seem like it's a huge benefit to Puerto Ricans to just be able to travel to the United States, get U.S. passports, and these sorts of things. There's no guarantee a Puerto Rican passport is going to be this this great document like a U.S. passport is. I mean, we exist in a world where passports matter.
Okay. Well, I mean, there are. I guess I see what you're saying, but for the people who support independence, I'm sure that the passport is cold comfort when they feel they're being ruled by a despotic nation.
Yeah, I'd like to see how this ruling goes. I mean, exactly how is the United States government fleecing Puerto Rico?
Well, apparently the government of Puerto Rico fleeced Puerto Rico because they're $100 billion in debt.
Independence isn't going to stop that.
That's true.
And then you're going to be independently poor.
Puerto Ricans residing on the island, though they do not vote for president and their sole representative in Congress cannot cast a vote, They are United States citizens and may move to the mainland as they please.
Hey, I got news for you, Puerto Ricans. Being able to vote for president, I've never had my vote for president matter. Not that it hasn't counted, because it counted, it just didn't matter. Don't worry, none of my congressmen listen to me either. So having one that can't vote
doesn't make a difference.
Isn't particularly relevant.
It's an option Puerto Ricans have increasingly taken advantage of in their effort to escape the economic malaise on the island, where 46% of the people are in poverty, and the unemployment rate was 11.5% in March. More than 400,000 people have moved to the mainland in just the last decade, and as of 2013, there were 5.1 million Puerto Ricans living on the mainland, according to the Pew Research Center, while the number of residents in the Commonwealth is expected to dip below 3 million by 2050.
There's more Puerto Ricans in the United States than there are in Puerto Rico?
I guess you're right about that.
Huh? Well, yep. It's a really nice place to be, and I've, after...
Puerto Rico is?
Well, yeah, it's gorgeous. Okay. It's got the highest crime rate in the United States. But, I mean, the weather's beautiful. It's the Caribbean. Undeniably the Caribbean. Probably better places to be during hurricane season, but, you and I lived in the subtropics most of our lives, and we never had a hurricane hit us.
Well, we got lucky.
Well, what do you mean?
Plenty of hurricanes hit plenty of places in Florida. We got lucky.
I'd like to know the number of people who've lived in Florida for 20 years and or more and have received more than $1,000 from storm damage.
The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Your thoughts on Puerto Rico. Should they be independent? Should they become a state? Should they stay status quo? You can also bring up whatever you want here on Free Talk Live.
Bitcoin.com is the most unique online destination in the Bitcoin universe. Buying Bitcoin? Do it here. Want to speak your mind to other Bitcoin users? Our forum is always open and censorship free at forum.bitcoin.com. There's no bigger Bitcoin believers than the Bitcoin.com team. That's why this site is a one-stop shop for everything you need to get into Bitcoin life. You can also play games at games.bitcoin.com. Learn more at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Everyone has something in their lives or just about themselves that they want to change, from trying to lose weight to becoming more motivated at work. Change is difficult, but the good news is no matter what, you don't have to go through it alone. Hypnotherapy can help you remove negative subconscious thoughts that keep you from achieving your goals. Never rely on just willpower again. Contact us at afterhourshypnotherapy.com today for your free consultation, or contact Melvin Marsh at 678-658-8483.
Homeowners have much more to worry about than just making their mortgage payment. One of our biggest expenses can be when unexpected repair bills hit us at home. Can you afford to repair or replace your home heating system? What about when your air conditioning stops working this summer, or worse, a major plumbing problem or large appliance that just stops working? Well, with National Home, you can say goodbye to repair bills. That's right. If you own a home, you could stop paying for these costly repairs. Best of all, call now to get your home protected and 1 month of repair coverage for free. Just call 800-887-3022. Simply call our 24/7 repair hotline and pay nothing for covered repairs. Get total protection for your home's major appliances and systems so you have no more costly repair bills. Just call 800-887-3022 and never pay for repairs again. Get your home protected against costly repair bills right now. Call 800-887-3022. That's 800-887-3022. 800-887-3022.
Anyone can publish on the internet, but not everyone is publishing material suited for online reading. According to the Yahoo Style Guide, it cautions that internet content has a few seconds, 3 or less, to encourage people to read more, to take action, or navigate to another one of your pages. So make it easy for readers to pick and choose. Isn't that the way you poke around online? Use short words, short sentences, short paragraphs, bulleted lists, and short pages. Front load what you write, putting the most important information at the beginning of headlines and paragraphs and sentences. Same goes for your keywords, what someone would likely type into the search box on Yahoo or Google. For more tips on communicating better online or in a job interview or everyday life, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
For years, LRN.FM has had a listen line that you can call and listen to LRN.FM anytime. Now we're taking the idea to a new level with the LRN.FM audio on demand line. You can call 641-793-9660 anytime and listen to LRN.FM's live feed, and you can listen to a bunch of our original shows on demand. Long distance fees may apply. Just dial 641-793-9660 and choose from the menu 641-793-9660. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
Free Talk Live. Dial in, toll free, bring up what you want. The future of Puerto Rico, the long-time fight continues on between the various different sides there. Some people, a lot of them, want to become a state. Some say, nope, we want to keep the status quo. We like the benefit of being, able to go to the United States without actually having to be a state. And others are saying, no, independence would be the right answer for Puerto Rico. However, the Independence Party has never really achieved the governorship there, whereas I guess the other parties have. According to the story at the New York Times, which we can continue, and you can share your thoughts with us. Also, want to let you know about SaveItPurse.com. You want to save big time on your purchases at Amazon. You just go and load up your wish list at Amazon with what you want. You then import that wish list into SaveItPurse.com. You select the discount you want. If you're in a rush, you can make it, I would say less than 20%. It'll probably go within the next day. Although I've had 20% go within a day. I've had 25% go within a day or so. If you put it at 33%, you might be waiting for a long time. So it really just depends on the discount you're willing to wait on. And you can get some amazing deals through SaveItPurse.com. It's where I do almost all of my Amazon shopping. I had to make an exception to that statement because recently I did buy something through Amazon without going through Save It Purse. But of course, if you do that, you can always go through shop.freetalklive.com and then get your regular Amazon shopping done that way. We benefit when you do that. We benefit either way, but we benefit more through shop.freetalklive.com per sale, and then SaveItPurse.com. We get a little piece.
Yeah, but it's nice.
Yep, it's nice to see it.
I had to do, we had to buy, I wanted to get some jiu-jitsu gear, and I wanted to get it quickly, so we went through shop.freetalklive.com, used our Prime thing, and it's right where it needs to be very quickly, and that was pretty awesome. As opposed to Purse, which you've got to kind of wait for.
You got to be patient,
and you got to kind of curate the deal a little bit. But in doing so, you get a big savings.
So, SaveAtPurse.com. The catch is, because there is a catch, and that is that you have to use cryptocurrency to use SaveItPurse.com. If you don't have Bitcoin or one of the other alternatives to Bitcoin, like let's say Dash or Monero, then you can't use Save It Purse. If you just got FRNs, you get the Federal Reserve note, the US dollar, you'll have to go through shop.freetalklive.com. But otherwise, check out SaveItPurse.com. You'll love it. The middle ground in Puerto Rico has been occupied by the Popular Democratic Party. Its leaders do not want to abandon the autonomy that the current status provides, but they argue that serious changes are needed if the island's economy is to be saved. In an interview on Tuesday, Hector Ferrer, the party president, argued, among other things, that Congress should modify the Jones Act of 1920, which prohibits non-American ships from carrying goods between the island and the mainland, an exclusion that he said pushes up the prices of consumer goods and gasoline.
Well, yeah. Absolutely. People should be able to compete, and why in the world would it be just exclusively American ships that do that?
Because protectionism.
Right.
Some American ship companies decided to lobby Congress in 1920 to guarantee that they would be the ones who got that business exclusively.
That would be part and parcel to the progressive era. This is the kind of dumb crap that the liberalism gave us, progressivism gave us, and it seems like the Republican Party via Trump has been all too happy to latch on to nativism and protectionism, and it's dumb.
It hurts people. It hurts freedom. It hurts
It's undefendable from any position other than they took our jobs, right?
Yeah.
Like other than screaming like a baby about how you don't want to compete.
That's what it is.
That's yelling about birthrights and nonsense like that. Well, come on. People should, any shipping company, Liberia, Norway, I don't care where they're, Panama, ships registry, Panama. Most ships are registered to these other countries for a reason. It's because the United States licensing is expensive.
Right, and if you're just going to be moving product around, what's the difference? What's the difference whether you're one license or another? As long as you're allowed to go to the port, who cares?
Also, you can then hire people from other countries because you're working under different labor laws. So, let me ask you this: if you're running a shipping company, do you want all American staff on your boat, or do you want to hire some nice cheap Filipinos? It's up to you.
The latter. If you look at the cruise ships, the cruise lines, they constantly have an international staff there because they're much cheaper.
Well, but they have usually the staff like the people, the cruise directors, and the ones that are interacting with the what do they call them? The patrons,
the cruisies,
on a regular basis. Those tend to be American. And
not in my experience. I mean, I've only been on a couple cruises in my life, but I remember a very distinct, accent from the man who was the waiter, for instance. I mean,
yes, but that's not what I'm talking about.
Well, the waiter interacts with you every day.
Okay, you're right.
You probably build more of a relationship with the waiter on a cruise ship than anybody else.
Yes, you're right. Yeah. Wait staff. The people that clean the rooms, so whatever your steward, these kind of people tend to be from.
I see what you're saying. The activities director might be an American,
right? And I don't know why they choose to do what they choose to do. Maybe if they feel that the Americans can relate better to Americans. I got no ideas, but it's this is a real opportunity for these people to be able to go on these boats and take these contracts.
Let's go to Kenny. He's in Yucca, Arizona, listening to K Talks. Hey, Kenny. Kenny?
Puerto Rico, I don't want to turn into another Cuba, and I don't want to make a state out of it because it would be a bunch of more Democrats with Democrat senators and Democrat congressmen. So I don't want it to be a state.
That's probably why it died in committee.
I think that's why I don't want to. I don't think that shipping is a big deal because most of the ships don't register their ships like the Princess cruise lines. They're mostly registered in Africa someplace.
Liberia or Panama is often the ones that the cruise lines do.
Right. So I don't know how. I doubt if there is much in the way of United States only registered shipping lines.
Well, there are some of them because that's the ones that are going to Puerto Rico.
Yeah. So they evidently see some money to be made over there.
Yeah, I think you make a great point on the fact that it's politics, right? So immediately the Democrats and Republicans are sizing up. These are going to be senators. Are they going to be Democratic senators? Are they going to be Republican senators? I don't know. And then trying to figure that out. Yeah.
You said they're free to leave. Is that what you just said, Kenny?
Yeah, they can get on a boat and go someplace else if they want to, can't they?
Oh, I thought you meant Puerto Rico is free to leave. It's whatever status they have with the United States. I don't know how free they are to do that.
I think they could probably get independence if they wanted it.
The independence people don't seem to think so.
It would be very difficult from an international standpoint to stop Puerto Rico from leaving if they wanted to. Go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, I wouldn't want them to be able to because then we would just have another Cuba. Cuba was a territory once also, and now look at it.
I think Puerto Rico is beginning to realize that handing out a whole bunch of government money doesn't work.
Well, they're $120-something billion in debt right now, and that is a bad situation for them. Kenny, thanks for your call and thoughts. I appreciate it. Our toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. That's free like freedom here on Free Talk Live, 855-450-3733.
It's going to be difficult to add new states if we're only going to add Republican ones.
The Skype username is LRN.FM. And, of course, I would love to see states leaving the union as well through secession. I would love to see that happen. And you can join us here, 855-450-FREE. This is Free Talk Live.
Do you know what's lurking in your water? More than 200 contaminants could be sitting there, just waiting for your glass. With a ProPure water filter, start enjoying clean and great-tasting water today. ProPure filters, independently tested, latest water filter technology. ProPure systems do not require electricity and are easy to set up and easy to use. To find out more, visit your authorized ProPure dealer or ProPureUSA.com. That's ProPureUSA.com.
Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists. Get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Slingbow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug-out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of Slingbow, a new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com.
Free Talk Live.
So we had a guy call in on Saturday, and he was really kind of befuddled as to why anyone would alter their consciousness at all. Like, he had done a little bit of drinking when he was younger, but he's an older guy, and he just really couldn't get it. And I imagine it's really kind of difficult for somebody who doesn't get it. It's really easy to look down your nose at that point. I imagine it's really difficult for people like that to understand, but the fact is that if you're not altering your consciousness as a being on this planet, you're probably in the minority.
Or at some point in your life. Because some people, they kind of get out of it when they get older for whatever reason. They just get tired of it, or they've had enough of that experience.
By definition, caffeine is a drug.
Sure it is.
Absolutely. It's a consciousness-altering drug to some
Wait
extent.
until you give me a can of Diet Coke. I will flip out right here.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
The 3 most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share 1 episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com.
Hi, I'm Derek J. To me, an activist's calling is to actively work to advance a cause. The cause for which I work is personal freedom. I believe my life is best when I engage in voluntary interactions and self-government. I reject the idea that anyone else has a higher claim to my life or my body than I do. I see people who call themselves the government as a threat to my personal freedom. I realize you may feel differently, but my relationship with the people who call themselves the government is completely involuntary. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. Dial on in here, toll free. Bring up whatever's on your mind. Our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype, so Skype on in here at username LRN.FM. With you tonight, it's Ian.
And Mark.
We're talking about the latest on Puerto Rico. Are they going to become a state? Well, some people there want that to happen. More so now because of their financial crisis that they are involved in. Remember, we've talked about Detroit, we've talked about California, Illinois. These are some of the worst financially, I guess Michigan as a whole state, but these are places that are very, very poorly, they're doing very poorly financially. They've spent way more than they had coming in. And in the case of Puerto Rico, it's $123 billion in debt and pension obligations that they are facing down right now. They have entered a new and exotic version of bankruptcy.
An exotic version of bankruptcy?
As a result of that. I think that was what the Congress passed to allow them to do it, right? Because there was some concern as to whether or not Puerto Rico, with their status as not a state, as a protectorate or whatever they are, Commonwealth of Puerto Rico, that they would be unable to acquire the bankruptcy that other states have been able to acquire. But then at the last moment, Congress apparently modified the rules to allow them to do that. So that must be the new factor that they're talking about. Maybe they made some special provisions for Puerto Rico. I haven't followed that closely. But if you have and you want to enlighten us, you're welcome to do so. Our toll-free number is 855. That's 855-450-3733. 855-450-FREE, like freedom. Their New York Times is reporting on the different sides. You've got the Puerto Rican independence movement that is also competing with the Puerto Rican Independence Party, competing with the Popular Democratic Party, as well as those who want the state to join, or not the state, who want it to become a state. So the independence people want it to be independent from the United States. The Popular Democrat Party wants the status quo that they have with some minor tweaks.
Well, it sounds like getting rid of that shipping thing would be great.
Yeah, well, yeah, so the shipping thing you're referring to.
The Jones Law from 1920? Good Lord.
Correct. Jones Act, which prohibits non-American ships from carrying goods between Puerto Rico and the United States, which, of course, is driving up the cost of everything because it's not subject to true competition, true open international competition. Hector Ferrer, the party president for the Popular Democratic Party, also criticized the referendum's language and warned of the cultural losses that would come with statehood. He said, quote, "We will lose our autonomy. We will lose our culture. We will lose our language," unquote. At their conventions last year, Democrats and Republicans expressed support for the ability of Puerto Rico to choose its status. But skeptics on the island wonder how seriously statehood would be taken in Congress, given that it would mean billions more in outlays for federal programs in Puerto Rico, and in the Trump administration, where the White House has taken down the Spanish language page of its website, and Attorney General Jeff Sessions has supported efforts to make English the official language. During a debate, Mr. Trump criticized Jeb Bush for speaking Spanish on the campaign trail, saying, quote, "This is a country where we speak English," unquote.
Well, there's a lot of people that feel that way, and I can tell you my grandmother was one of them. She'd get all upset when she went to the grocery store. She heard somebody speaking Spanish at all, but it just doesn't make any sense. First off, New Mexico's constitution's in 2 languages. The United States is it's a polygon drawn on a map, right? That map was drawn around people who spoke Spanish
natively. Yeah.
Well, native isn't exactly the right term, but Spanish was a language that was brought to them. From an ethnic standpoint, they didn't speak Spanish originally. They were less Spanish and more sort of indigenous, but they spoke Spanish when the line was drawn around them. There were also people who spoke French when the line was drawn around it. The United States doesn't have an official language because it doesn't need it. Okay? Okay. Seriously, if the United States had to make all the its documents in Spanish, French, and English, big deal. I mean, of the government waste out there, is this where we're going to try to save money? Well, we don't want to have to print these in 3 different languages.
All the while dropping bombs on innocent people.
Oh, well, the bombs themselves are built by the military-industrial complex, which has these cushy contracts, charging $500 for a hammer and things like that. So, you can't even begin to understand the graft and waste. if you don't want me to advocate against your Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and every other government program out there, why don't you just leave the Spanish trifold pamphlets alone?
So there's also the New Progressive Party, which is the one pushing for statehood. And we were talking earlier about them and their, I guess, boss man, their leader, Rosello. Mr. Rosello, according to the story at the New York Times, his party controls both houses of the legislature, but his critics note that he was elected in November with only 42% of the vote, and in the two main opposition parties, they have pledged to boycott this referendum. The crisis has driven some Puerto Ricans into Rosello's camp. Eric Storer, age 36, became a convert to the statehood movement when he was laid off 3 months ago from his job in the pharmaceutical industry. The sector has thrived there thanks to the generous corporate tax breaks created by Congress in 1976. But Congress began phasing out those tax breaks in 1996, and they disappeared 10 years later in 2006. One reason, experts say, the economy has taken such a hit. With no representation in Congress, residents like Mr. Storer have been left feeling as if they have little say in policy making.
If you had one representative, which is what Puerto Rico would get, as I understand the mathematics. I don't see why, though. I mean, they have one representative currently that can't vote, but they've got about 3 million there. New Hampshire has 2 reps with 1.4 million people.
Wouldn't they get more than one?
They'd have 4, call it 4 or 5 reps. Yeah. That isn't going to amount to anything. It's not going to get you much.
He says, but that's what it's all about, how people feel. You know, you're right, Mark. You're absolutely right. From a logical perspective, it's not going to make a hill of beans of difference as to whether or not they have one non-voting representative or a handful of voting representatives as far as, what happens is concerned. But they'll feel like they can make a difference. They'll feel like they're included in this decision-making process. Just sort of like in the same way that the people in D.C. have been complaining forever about no taxation without representation. It says it right on their license plates in Washington, D.C.
But the no taxation without representation only means that they don't get to vote for president, right?
In D.C.?
Yeah,
they don't vote for president?
I'm pretty sure. They don't vote for president. They vote for president, but it doesn't matter.
Okay, I don't
know. I guess maybe they're saying that they don't have representatives in the House of Representatives too. That might be true.
Well, they're ruled by the House, right? They're ruled by the Congress.
It's a very small place.
They pass the
laws.
With
a relatively small population,
right? The Congress has to approve all the stuff that D.C. wants to do, right? So,
speaking as a person who has never been represented by anybody in Washington, I guess I just don't. It doesn't resonate with me when people are like, I don't have proper representation. Well, me either.
No, I guess the license plate says taxation without representation. That's what it is. So they're being taxed just as much as everyone else, but they have no real no representation.
D.C. has 3 electors, but they don't have voting representation in Congress.
So Storer, who drives for Uber to make ends meet, says, quote, "We're part of it and we're not part of it, and I don't like that," he says. Others warn that statehood will not be a panacea. Among other things, Puerto Ricans would have to give up their current exemption from federal income tax for income earned in the Commonwealth.
That'd be nice.
Giving it up or having the exemption?
Having the exemption.
Yeah, well, they'd have to give that up if they became a state. For some statehood supporters, the slim chance of convincing Congress of their cause is not as important as sending Washington a strong message. Marcos Diaz, age 46, says it's just so they can hear our voice. He said
Well, I'll tell you this. The chances are that most Puerto Ricans wouldn't pay much in income tax anyway, because the majority of about half of people who pay income tax or who fill out income tax forms don't pay. And there's a good percentage, and I can't tell you precisely how many, but call it 33% of the American population doesn't fill out an income tax form either. So you're talking about something like 66% of Americans don't pay income tax.
We'll come back with the remainder of this story. It's an interesting piece about what's happening in Puerto Rico, and of course you're welcome to weigh in with your thoughts at 855 450 free here on Free Talk Live.
Today, how to incorporate your business in just 10 minutes so you won't lose everything if you get sued. Step 1, stop putting it off. If you're not incorporated and someone sues your business tomorrow, it's not just your business at risk. You can lose everything: your home, your car, even your life savings. Step 2, call the following number for a free 10-minute incorporation guide from Incorporate.com. 1-800-940-9829. They don't provide legal or financial advice. They just make incorporating quick and easy. So you can incorporate or form an LLC in just 10 minutes. That number again is 1-800-940-9829. Step 3, congratulate yourself. By taking just 10 minutes to incorporate your business or form an LLC, you protected your home, your car, and your life savings. And that is how you incorporate your business in just 10 minutes. But hurry while they're still giving away these 10-minute incorporation guides for free. Call 1-800-940-9829. That's 1-800-940-9829.
We all know that Berkey Water Purification Systems are the most trusted name in water filtration. As an authorized Berkey dealer for over 6 years and serving thousands of satisfied customers, the Berkey Guy offers amazing specials for Berkey Water Filtration Systems. The Berkey Light Systems include a set of self-sterilizing and recleanable black purification elements that purify water by removing chlorine, pathogenic bacteria, cysts, and parasites to non-detectable levels and remove harmful chemicals such as herbicides and pesticides. Order the Berkey Light System today, complete with 2 black Berkey elements for only $231, and the Berkey Guy will ship your order free of charge. With the purchase of a Berkey Light, the Berkey Guy is also offering a set of fluoride and arsenic filters for only $39.99. That's over 30% off the retail price. Call the Berkey Guy at 1-877-886-3653. That's 1-877-886-3653. Or order online at goberkey.com. That's goberkey.com today.
Attention CPAP users, stop the insanity and torture of your CPAP mask. Don't you hate the skin irritation and terrible leaks? Jump on the CPAP Pro train, invented by an actual CPAP user that became so frustrated with CPAP masks. Are you ready to try something new? With absolutely no straps or headgear? Go to nomask.com and get the best night's sleep ever. Free to Medicare patients. Go to nomask.com. That's NOMASK.com.
If your home has hard water, then it's likely that limescale is clogging your pipes, damaging your appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars each year. You can eliminate limescale in the entire house with HydroCare products available at Wave Home Solutions. Easy and efficient with no maintenance, no salts, no chemicals, and no coils. And you can buy with confidence from Wave Home Solutions. Performance guaranteed. Just go to bestwater411.com. That's bestwater411.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up in any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live, and you can dial on in toll free. Bring up whatever you want. Our number here is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Skype username, it's lrn.fm. With you in the studio tonight, Ian here.
And Daryl.
And Mark.
Daryl joining us because I guess you wanted to comment. You were overhearing some of the discussion we were having regarding statehood, Puerto Rico, D.C., and you're somebody who follows some of these matters fairly closely.
Yes, and I actually think that I came up with the idea for the most recent plebiscite that they had in Puerto Rico.
A plebiscite is a non-binding referendum?
Correct.
Okay.
Where I had the idea back in like 2009 for doing what's essentially a two-step vote but it's held on the same ballot, to where all of the previous votes that they've had, the question was, do you want to, what's the status that you want for Puerto Rico? Statehood, independence, remain a commonwealth, free association, something else. And they would have like 4 or 5 choices, and nothing ever wound up getting a majority. So I had the idea for, how about you have a question of, do you want to change the status? And then the second question,
to what?
Yes, to what?
Okay, and they did that?
They did that in 2012.
All right.
And that's where they wound up getting, I forget what the percentage was that voted yes on we want to change status.
It was like 60-something%, wasn't it?
And then I think it was mid-50s, and then it was 60-something% that voted for statehood.
Of the people that voted yes.
Of the people that voted on the second question.
Right.
So a lot of the people that voted yes on question 1 just did not vote on question 2. The people that voted no did not, by and large, vote on question 2. So there was a huge drop-off. So I think that's why Congress did not act, because they were saying, wait a second, this was not necessarily a quote-unquote valid vote. Yes, we're not challenging the validity of the vote, but because there was a huge drop-off of the number of people that voted on question 1 but not question 2, we don't believe this to actually be the will of a majority of the people, so that's why Congress largely did not act on that.
Well, they also had the opportunity. What they were supposed to be doing is just simply voting on whether or not to give them a referendum so they could vote yes or no. So what you had was a plebiscite that you referred to there, and then which is non-binding, and then the referendum would have been binding, but Congress hasn't even moved on that.
Right, and Congress, the two bills, the 2 bills that I had sent you the info on Telegram, I forget what they were, like HR 200 or something.
It was House 2000.
Those
and
bills
Senate 2020.
were filed after that plebiscite at the request of the Puerto Rican government. Of, hey, we had this plebiscite, the people want a change, but it can't be official until you say that we get to have a vote. And Congress was largely like, yeah, we're not going to let you have a vote because we just don't think that the people actually wanted a change.
And what year was that?
2012 was the last plebiscite. 2013, 2014 is when Congress had that legislation. And you also were talking about D.C., where on the license plates, the taxation without representation, it was actually Bill Clinton, of all people, that wound up decreeing that go on the license plates. And it is because even though the people that live in D.C. do get to vote for president and have that vote counted, they do not have voting representation in Congress. Not that, the person that claims to represent me is really doing a good job.
How much representation will they get? 1 rep if they got anything? And then, what's
plus
1 rep?
2 senators.
Oh, God. They're not a state. Why would they get a senator?
That's what they want. They want senators and a voting representative.
Fine, that every county in America should get them. That's essentially what they are. If not just
one
a city.
could also claim that Rhode Island is a glorified county.
It's 3 glorified counties.
But there are counties in this country that are larger than Rhode Island. There are counties in this country that have more people than Rhode Island. There are cities in this country that have more people than all of New Hampshire.
So what's that got to do with anything?
It's not based upon population. And your claim of,
why should it be?
D.C. is basically a county, so every county gets a congressman. Not that I would have a problem, because originally the size of Congress was supposed to have grown with the population, but that wound up basically stalemating.
They had to stop that because Congress would have been way too big.
Now, I want to know is, why are the Independence Party people in Puerto Rico, because again, there's 3 major parties.
Correct.
Why are the Independence Party calling for a boycott of the upcoming referendum?
Because they see it as basically a way to wind up making sure that statehood winds up winning the second round, because there's enough people that want to change the status of Puerto Rico, and they see this two-step vote as basically creating a false majority.
Even though one of the options on the referendum will be an option that they would appreciate, supposedly. I mean, the choices would be statehood, independence and free association, or current territorial status. And according to Wikipedia, if the plurality vote for the independent/free association choice, a second vote will be held to determine the preference, either full independence as a nation or associated free state status with independence, but with a free and voluntary political association between Puerto Rico and
basically
US.
that free association thing is basically what Micronesia and a couple other former territories that are tiny island nations in the Pacific. They are states in free association with the United States. So the U.S. government provides their military, provides like postal service and several other things. In exchange for, you get to put up military bases here.
So that would be a more independent status for Puerto Rico?
It would be more independent, but they would still kind of be, somewhat under the thumb of the United States. Now, you guys were talking about the debt crisis that, is happening down in Puerto Rico. And
$123 billion.
Right. We covered this a few weeks ago on a Thursday. Yep. Me, Chris, and Heather. And a lot of this is because there were tax benefits that applied in Puerto Rico, and then Congress all of a sudden revoked those tax benefits.
Right.
And because the Puerto Rican island country was used to having people and businesses there, and then the people and businesses left because they no longer had the tax break of, oh, yeah, the money you make in Puerto Rico is no longer tax-free. And they're like, well, what's the point of doing business here and then having to pay to ship plus pay taxes? So we're out. And then they wound up losing like 10 to 20% of the population. So they really took a huge hit, and they couldn't figure out how to reduce spending while also, having that hit.
This government never wants to reduce spending.
Right. Of course they don't.
Yeah.
But, when you lose that large of a percentage of your people all at one time, and then because the people that stay are largely unemployed, then, we've got all these social programs that we told people would exist.
Yep.
So, the whole thing basically was created because of the United States federal government
offering that
program. Hey, here's a bunch of things, and now we're taking away your source of income.
That's what happens when you rely on a gang.
Is Spanish for Greece.
Huh?
That's a lot of what basically happened in Greece too.
Oh, okay, the country.
Right.
Yeah. There's also fear, according to the New York Times, that the effort and attention being lavished on the referendum will just be one more distraction from the issues on the island that need to be addressed, including corruption, nepotism, and the need for a clear-eyed economic plan. The last time a status referendum was held, in 2012, 61% of the voters chose statehood, but the Popular Democratic Party instructed its followers to leave ballots blank and argued that the end result had little merit. Gretchen Sierra Zorita said, I personally think it's a waste of time. She's a consultant who works with a number of Puerto Rican organizations in Washington. She says Puerto Rico puts so much emphasis on electing parties and party leaders that represent a status option as opposed to a good governance option. And so they go on to say here that neither the Republicans nor the Democrats won us, said a carpenter in San Juan. He described himself as a regular voter who was not loyal to any party, but he said he refused to participate in the referendum. It was little more than a distraction, he said, cooked up by what he called the legisladrones, or thieving lawmakers, who he said have been sucking millions out of Puerto Rico.
I think he's probably right.
Viva Puerto Rico!
Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch this and see how it goes. I'm sure you'll be paying close attention to it, Daryl, this summer. And we'll see you tomorrow night online. In the meantime, you can join us at freetalklive.com.
Free Press Publications is an independent, alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement, and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary on the website fpp.cc, as well as a daily 5-minute newscast, FPP Radio News, and weekly news, views, and commentary in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com, and the monthly newspaper, FPP News, at news.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
For Bitcoin to be ubiquitous, people need to use it. For people to use it, they must have it. How can we get Bitcoin into more hands? Tipping. What if you could include a bonus Bitcoin tip along with your regular tip to a server? What if that Bitcoin tip returned to you if unclaimed after 30 days? An attractive business card Bitcoin tip that's easily claimed, gives instructions on wallets and spending, and returns to the tipper if unused. Tip.freetalklive.com. Tip.freetalklive.com. Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that 1/10 of a calorie it takes to click on something. Facebook.freetalklive.com.
The latest episode of Declare Your Independence is next, after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network, LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Wednesday, May 17th, 2017. Silver's trading at $16.95 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,228 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at 2 cents, and the average price of Bitcoin is $1,823. Antiwar.com reports the death toll of Monday's apparent U.S. airstrike against the Islamic State-held town of Abu Kamal, Syria, continued to rise on Tuesday, with the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights saying that 42 civilians have now died as a result of the attack, which targeted a residential area and adjoining mosque. The Pentagon was mum on the incident on Monday, but on Tuesday issued a blanket denial, insisting that they had carried out no airstrikes against Abu Kamal, nor